side, Steven Stamkos blocked off by Letty. And then the intercept and the lead pass for Barzal. Moving in, he shoots and scores! 21 seconds of the third without a whistle. A drive by Pullock, he scores! Nice shot from the left circle, goes wide. And that will do it. The Islanders take game one.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the All Things Rangers podcast. It's great to be back in Long Island doing this again. But instead of being on the road, although I'm going to work out all the kinks on the road, I'm going to not be traveling as much or figure it out when I go. Anyway, but unfortunately, we got to lead again with the Islanders. I'm your host, Marc Williams. I'm actually camera ready today, and I am joined by, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, and always on time, Mr. John Filkowski.
Well, I guess the first part's, I guess I'll take the last part. Definitely not. Adam Boxer Norris, though.
And I agree with that one 100%. And, of course, the man who's still watching his team in the playoffs right now, a Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
Rock the barn tomorrow. Let's go.
All right. Well, all right. That's where we're going to have to start because the A block will be, of course, the New York Islanders, who took game one from the Tampa Bay Lightning. They got it from a Matt Barzal goal on a breakaway, partially checked. But, do you think he was going 5-0 on that one? But either way, it still worked. And then a gift goal as Ryan Pullock's blast went through Andrei Vasilevsky. They held on as Brayden Point had a power play goal at the end. Brock Nelson would have one of the two goals. Him and Matt Barzal would score. Nelson would actually tie the game after a controversial power play. More on that in a moment. But the Islanders went down 4-1. Victor Hedman, a goal and an assist. Nikita Kucherov, 2 assists. So, unfortunately, we had to do the preview without Filk. And can I just get? Were you able to see it?
No, unfortunately, I was not.
I needed you to grade my my WWE trash talk because I was trying to.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that then because I didn't think you were actually gonna do it. I thought you were just messing with me there. So.
I thought he did a pretty good job, Phil. You'd be proud. I thought he did a solid job.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you guys are the wrestling experts on that. All right. So. By the way, if you're joining us right now, we got a lot to talk about on the show. We got Gerard Gallant and a lot of other NHL news. But delving into this series. So far, guys, the Islanders and Lightning are tied 1-1. What have we learned? Anthony, to you first.
Well, I'll kind of start off and say what we've learned. Just game one and game two, kind of different stories. As I told you guys in the group chat after game one, the Islanders went into Tampa Bay, and they smacked them in the mouth. They said, you guys are high octane, but, we're going to give you nothing. And they did. They gave them nothing. The Lightning got that 6-on-4 power play goal with under a minute left. But other than that, the Islanders held all their big guns in check. They played a perfect road game. And, yeah, they were just clearly the better team. Last night, Tampa Bay came out. They came out flying, and rightfully so, because I mean, I don't know what you gentlemen think, but let's face it, if the Islanders went up 2-0 in this series, in my opinion, I mean, it would have been all but over at that point because Tampa Bay, even if they split in the Coliseum, they'd be, at that point, you're talking 3-1, and they'd have to win 3 games in a row, and they're a good team, but winning 3 games in a row against another very good team in the Islanders, that would have been a hard proposition. So, the Lightning came out hard like I expected them to. They couldn't afford to go down again, and they played the better game. There's no question about it. But what I think I learned was, in terms of game two, is that even though the Lightning played really good, the Islanders kind of beat themselves. You look at that second goal. I'm not even talking about the too many men on the ice, just the play itself. Barzal just totally abandoned his guy to go help. I mean, I get it. Nikita Kucherov is a prolific scorer, playmaker. He went to go help out Nick Leddy. But Nick Leddy had Kucherov kind of just on the wall. He wasn't an immediate threat to go by him to the net. Barzal made a split-second decision to go help him out. I thought maybe he probably thought he could disrupt the play, and he left Pullock wide open the slot. And, even if you leave an average NHL player all alone in the slot, there's a good chance they're going to score a goal. So that was all on Barzal. And then the third goal, Adam Pelech, who's been getting a lot of praise lately, he was under no duress, and he had the puck behind the goal line, and I think he tried to bank it off the boards to Beuvillier, and he put too much on it, and it went right to Jan Ruda, and he took a slap shot from the point, and he beat Varlamov. So those two goals were self-inflicted decisions by the Islanders that the Lightning didn't even force them into. So, look, Tampa Bay is a great team. They have a hard enough time shutting them down. They can't be beating themselves like that. So the Islanders need to get back to playing the way they did in Game 1. Being home for Game 3 will help them. They'll have all the crowd on their side. They play really well at the Coliseum. So just get back to the way they played in Game 1. And I guess the last positive I'll take from myself is Tampa Bay's power play is unreal. And they gave the Lightning 5 power play opportunities, which you don't want to do. But despite that, they only allowed 1 power play goal. So for a power play that's operating over 40%, allowing them to only convert 1 time, that's a positive. But what we've learned, this is going to be a nasty series. It was chippy, it was physical, and I'm excited to watch this all play out. I think it's going to be a hell of a series.
Filk, go to you first. Well, not to you first, obviously second.
What I've learned is that this series might even be more entertaining than the Florida series, to tell you the truth, because I think the Islanders are a better team than Florida, obviously, and they can skate with Tampa Bay. They can shut them down, which they did in Game 1, but there's a lot of physicality and there's still a lot of vitriol from last year. So I think this is going to be an even more entertaining series, and so far it has been. Tampa Bay played a horrible game in Game 1. John Cooper was right. Their heads weren't in the game. The Islanders played well. You give them credit there. But Tampa Bay did not play well at all in Game 1. They shot themselves in the foot multiple times, just like the Islanders shot themselves in the foot multiple times in Game 2. I don't think either team is going to play as bad of a game as they've played in their losses for the rest of the series. I don't think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see a lot of tight-knit hockey. I think the games are probably going to be more like 2-1, 1-2, or 3-2, or maybe even 1-0 games at this point. I think both teams really just felt each other out in these first 2 games and kind of got their goals out of the way. We also learned that Tampa Bay can, in fact, score at even strength. That was something Anthony was saying that they had trouble doing because a lot of their production was coming on the power play. But when you draw as many penalties as Tampa Bay does, that's what happens. You have a bunch of guys that really convert on the power play, and if they're going to get their goals from the power play, then you can't give them penalties. I would say kudos to the Islanders for, like Anthony said, 5 opportunities, 1 goal. I mean, that's still a 20% clip, which is still good enough, especially in the playoffs, because usually teams don't operate at 40% in the playoffs. Unreal. But I mean, there's a lot of positives for Tampa. There's definitely a lot of positives for the Islanders too. Islanders get last change going back into their building for the next 2 games. They have to take advantage of that. I know Anthony was referring to before we got on the air that J.G. Padro was deemed to be okay by Barry Trotz, even though he only played 5 minutes in the third period. I didn't see much of him. I was looking out for him, and I still didn't see him. So, I mean, I went back and watched everything again, and I still didn't really see much of him. So I'm guessing that's just a bad job on my part then. But, yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing to even to have to say that he's okay. I would still be a little worried. Maybe not. All right, you know what? Maybe not worried, but concerned. I would be a little concerned, even that he tweaks something, because you never know how it is. Players tell you that they're okay all the time when they're really not. They play through injuries. Marc, Ryan McDonough, 2015, broken foot.
Yep.
Played through it. So, but I liked what I saw from each team in each of the 2 games. I thought they were both very good. I thought they both made some good plays. I think each one of them stuck each other's game to the other team. So now I think the feeling process is over. Now we're going to get the real heavyweight battle from here on out.
Well, Tampa is, as I said before, they're not going to be phased by going to hostile environments like the Coliseum. They're just not. If anything, when we talk about the barn rocking, it's going to be something maybe to boost the Islanders as opposed to, say, rattle Tampa. Tampa tried working the perimeter completely in game one, and they never got to the middle. The Pullock goal last night was an example of what they're trying to do. They're trying to work the outside and then get into the inside. And, there were 7 guys. First, Anthony, you're right about the D-zone coverage, but 7 guys on the ice. How is that not picked up or reviewable? I mean, I know you could say, oh, maybe 2 of the guys weren't even in the play, but I mean, that's ridiculous. That cannot happen. That can never happen. And the Ruda shot, that was, it was on a giveaway, but also Varlamov had no chance on it. Bailey's got to get a little bit further out there for him.
He didn't see it.
Yeah, he had no and by the way, I think even if he saw it, there was no chance. That was far down.
He missed Bailey by about that much. That was a perfect shot. You hit Varlamov on that.
Oh no, I'm not. No, again, I'm not faulting him on it.
No, you're not. Who wants to blame Varlamov? I would challenge you to try to stop a shot that well placed that missed a player by that much.
But again, so last night was more of what Tampa wants to do, and that's what we have. That's what you got looking forward. Stop, keep him to the outside. Don't let him in the inside. And the Islanders got this series then. Go into the controversy from last night. And I got it queued up right over here. Oh, wait, I probably see this is what happens when you try to go do one thing first. This is Adam Pelech, and I was listening to it on the way in, and I was listening to the Tampa feed on NHL radio, and it was absolutely horrendous. First off, by the way, the feed, I'll talk about that in a minute. But all I heard was, okay. And I saw the little spirited debate between you guys on it, but that to me looks like Adam Pelech shoves him right into Varlamov.
It is. It's not looks like it is. It's absolutely, he literally cross-checks him right into him. And a picture that
you have that
too. That wasn't even taken by somebody else. But he absolutely extends his arms. He's point blank at that point, no pun. And he has no chance of stopping because at that point, at the speed that he's going at, he doesn't even have enough time to turn his hips to make the stop. He's going to go end over end if he tries to do that, and he's going to hurt Varlamov even more. It's a stupid. Defensemen shouldn't be doing it, and they should be penalized when it does happen. And you know what? That needs to be reviewed. Just like the third and too many men on the ice call needs to be reviewed. It all needs to be reviewed. These referees, too many mistakes at this point. Too many mistakes. There has to be some sort of accountability, and there's none. And you know what? When you try to say something about it, there's nothing you can say because if you criticize them, you're getting fined for it. It's stupid. So you know what? Something needs to change. In the CBA, it has to change. I'm sorry, but it needs to change.
Before I just toss this over to Anthony, and he's going to call this Chris Kreider incident. Actually, that was the joke. Anthony, what are your thoughts on the play?
Well, there's no doubt about that. The reason why Point went into Varlamov was because, Adam Pelech helped him get there. I don't think it was goaltender interference. It shouldn't have been a penalty. But, unfortunately these days, referees, when they see a player go into a goalie, a lot of the times their initial reaction is just to call goaltender interference because of the stigma of a player crashing into a goalie. Not allowed. So the majority of the time they call it goaltender interference, but in this case it shouldn't have been. As far as Adam Pelech, Pelech pushed Point into. My whole argument was that Adam Pelech didn't go like this and go back like extremely hard and push Brayden Point. Brayden Point was a little bit in front of him, and he had his. It was his arms. It wasn't. It was. He didn't rear back.
Let me ask you a question. If Brayden Point is untouched, he's not touched there at all. You think he crashes into Semyon Varlamov?
That's it's obvious. Pelech pushed Point into and pushed him into him.
Don't dance around it. Answer the question.
No, if he doesn't make contact with Pelech, it's not getting pushed in.
Thank you. That's interference.
But
that's interference. That's interfering with someone. If you interfere with someone on a breakaway, is that not a penalty shot?
If the guy has the puck and you try to stop them,
like Point did,
that's not interference. I mean, yeah, if you trip him or slash him, it's a penalty. But you can't pull interference on somebody when a player has the puck
from behind, cross-checking, which is a penalty. Is that not a penalty shot by definition?
The penalty shot by definition is if you take away a scoring opportunity from a player that's on a breakaway.
Blasting him into the back and sending him into the goaltender. You just stated before that if that doesn't happen, it's a breakaway and he doesn't crash into him. So 1 + 1 is 2, not 4. So
yeah, but I think that also goes into the Marc Chytil argument I was giving you. Like, what's Pelech supposed to do? Just let him walk in?
Chytil is a completely different argument.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying it goes into the argument about you got to do something in order to get there.
I get
all
it.
Right. But wait, hold on. Does the penalty come from Alex Kalorin's contact with Varlamov in game 1?
The problem is with these calls that they don't call them right and they don't review it. If Dwight King gets his goal overturned in 2014 in game 2,
huge.
That's a completely different series. And then you know what happened after that? They started reviewing goaltender interference. It needs to change. It needs to be called. If you're going to take away a scoring chance by impeding them, by doing that, yes, you're impeding them. You're not slowing them down by hooking them or tripping them. You're impeding them by taking away their time by cross-checking someone in the back. If I go straight into that camera like that while trying to make a move on a goaltender on a breakaway, that's being impeded. You can't do that. It's still a penalty. Even though it's not a cross-checking penalty, it's interference. You're impeding somebody. That has to change. It has to be reviewed. No matter what.
Interference. The problem is interference is when you get in a guy's way who doesn't have the puck. When you take away his path to the puck when he doesn't have the puck. That's interference.
That's not just interference.
That's interference.
Plays too. Interference is anything away from the puck.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to the next part of this before we have to get our striped shirts on. But you know what? Actually, we'll just go right to it. Is the refereeing the most disappointing part of this series so far?
One of them.
All right.
I would say one of them. Like, you have too many men on the ice call, which was absolutely atrocious. How do you not see? I get the 6th man is pretty much at the bench, has nothing to do with the play. And that's just a breakdown on the Islanders' part, like Anthony mentioned before. But you still have to make that call. They still have the puck. It's technically still a penalty. You have to call that. There's no way around it. But you also cannot give the Islanders a power play for their own man shoving a player while he's past that. He's down below the hash marks when he gets shoved.
A power play that they capitalized on.
Yeah, and they capitalized on that. So you know what? Even if you take those 2 goals away, Tampa Bay still winning that game by a significant margin, and they were still the better team. But you know what? These kinds of calls cannot be happening in this postseason. And you know what? And I hope to God that this series isn't decided by something stupid in a pivotal game in a pivotal moment. Because these 2 teams are too good, and this could be too entertaining of a series to let that happen. I don't want the bullshit. I want this to be decided fair.
Anthony, what's disappointing you the most so far?
Well, I mean, aside from the refereeing, it's hard for me to pinpoint a player or anything on the Islanders because, you know, they split in Tampa Bay. That's all you could ask for. They played a really good game 1 and game 2. They made some
That's what you
mistakes,
asked for.
but I don't. Yeah, I don't think anybody is not playing up to par. So it's hard for me to say what's disappointing me.
I'll give you a player.
It's actually.
I'll give you a player from two teams, actually, now that I just thought about it. For the Islanders, I'll tell you, Ryan Pullock needs to be better. Adam Pelech's been all world. Adam Pelech has been one of the best defensemen in the entire playoffs. But Ryan Pullock has not pulled his own weight. He's got to be better. He's got to be way better than what he was, especially last night. I thought he was awful last night. And for Tampa, Mikhail Sergachev. Sergachev's been awful. He had another bad game last night. And they had, I would say, early in the game, in the first period, I think he had like 4 turnovers alone. And I think 2 of those could have went for goals if they were converted. So Mikhail Sergachev and Ryan Pullock, if I'm Barry Trotz and John Cooper, I'm looking at the 2 of you.
All right. So in that case, anything surprising you guys so far? Anthony, you first.
I guess I'm a little surprised about how the Lightning are having a little bit of a hard time slowing down Barzal. And in game 1, Barzal it's very, very rare this happens, but he totally turnstiled Victor Hedman on a play where he beat him, and then he got like his arm on the shot. It was actually not that long before he scored his breakaway goal. But he's buzzing out there. He's skating well. He's creating chances. And for Tampa Bay, who has such good skating defensemen like Sergachev, Hedman, even McDonough, Barzal's still skating out there and creating his chances. So that's great news for the Islanders. I just thought Tampa Bay would be playing harder on him.
Filk?
I mean, there's not a lot that's really surprising me. I know Victor Hedman's playing hurt, so I mean, I can kind of see why he hasn't necessarily been himself, but he's still putting up points. What I guess I could say for what really surprised me is that Jan Ruda's goal last night was, I believe, the first goal by a Tampa Bay defenseman in the playoffs, they were saying. So I guess that would surprise me. I mean, for the Islanders, I guess the rebounding of Semyon Varlamov, I not that it's totally surprising, but I thought when Ilya Sorokin came in during the Pittsburgh series, I thought that was going to start the Sorokin era on the island. And Varlamov said, "Not so fast, kid." And Varlamov's been really good. So I guess the rebounding, and to the extent that he's rebounded, because he's been pretty damn good in these playoffs so far. So
I guess, you know what? I was going to say nothing has shocked me so far in this series because game 1 went, I think midway through the game, I texted in our group chat, the pace of this game greatly favors the Islanders, and then it did. And Barzal would score, I think, about a minute after that. I gotta agree with the Varlamov thing though, but I'll say the testament to Barry Trotz too. I said before, he's navigated this situation before with Grubauer and Holtby, and it's not the same, but it's you have a starting goalie, you go to someone else, and then you go back to your original goalie, and you know what, Varlamov showed up for the Bruins series, and then that was it. All right, so who needs to step up for game 3, guys?
Anthony.
I gotta go Jordan Eberle. Like I said, Barzal's been going ever since game 3 against Boston when he scored that goal to tie that one. Ever since then, that woke him up. Leo Komarov's not going to really help him out offensively, so Jordan Eberle needs to step up his game and get going, give Barzal, a threat to where Tampa Bay needs to make sure they cover Eberle, because if Barzal gets him the puck, it's not going to be good. He really needs to get going. For a guy who's not very physical, I thought his board play and his battle level's been good. He just hasn't gotten on the score sheet enough for me. I know he scored that power play goal in Boston in Game 5, but he needs to score more because the Islanders are getting their production. Nelson woke up, and Beuvillier, Bailey have been good. Pajot, Palmieri, Eberle needs to start pulling his weight. So he needs to start putting the puck in the net and creating some chances.
That was going to be one of mine. but I'm going to go back to Ryan Pullock. He's got to be better in the next game. He's got to be. I think that pairing in general wasn't as good. I think Tampa Bay kind of had their way with them last night. 3 of those goals came at even strength, and I think 2 of those goals were against that pairing, if I'm correct. I think the third one actually might have been as well. I'd have to go back and look at it again, but I know 2 were against that pairing. So
yeah, the first one, the third one, definitely.
Yeah.
The second one, Nick Leddy was on the ice for.
That's right, because Barzal was covering Leddy's spot.
My apologies then, but I would say Ryan Pullock has got to be better, and then for Tampa Bay, does anyone else have a milk carton with Steven Stamkos's name or his face on the back of it? Because I have one in my refrigerator right now. I can tell you that, because that guy is just, I don't know where he is. He's looked invisible. And credit to the Islanders for shutting him down, but he needs to start digging down, put on his big boy pants, and come into play with an edge, because he just doesn't look like he's invested in it. Get your big boy pants on, sack up, be a man, get out there and start throwing your weight around a little bit. Start digging more. I haven't seen anything from him. He needs to be better.
Cooper actually benched him after he caused the turnover on Barzal's goal in the first game, and Cooper actually sat him on the bench for a while. He didn't see the ice again. Tampa Bay got a power play later in that game.
Good. He shouldn't. He hasn't been. And you know what? He didn't respond in game 2. So now, if Cooper's serious, if Cooper wants his team to go back to back, he needs Steven Stamkos to be much better than Steven Stamkos has been in this play. And I'm not even just talking in this series. Steven Stamkos has not been good in this playoffs. He hasn't.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't. He's had, I think, a couple power play points. He had one last night, but no, not really. He hasn't. He was my guy that I was going to say, and it was going to be either him or Anthony Cirelli that needs to step up. But, I mean, we all have Jordan Eberle, by the way. Jordan Eberle also was on that same milk carton.
Yeah.
And these guys, they're pros, and Eberle will just come out of nowhere and score the Game 5 overtime winner like he did last year.
You know what? At least I could say with Jordan Eberle, though, I'd rather have him right now, because at least when he's not scoring, he's still kind of making things happen. And he's still playing a decent defensive game, although he's not great defensively. Stamkos has been worthless, really.
Yeah, that turnover in Game 1 was terrible. There's no way to slice that. So, guys, quickly, what is your Game 3 headline? Anthony, you first.
So far, the prior 2 series has been the Islanders splitting on the road and then actually dropping at Game 3, tying the series in Game 4, and then going on to win the series. So essentially winning 3 straight after falling behind 2-1. I think that trend breaks this series, so I do think the Islanders take Game 3 tomorrow. I'm going to say, Barzal leads powers Islanders to victory in Game 3. I think he's like I said, he's skating well. I think he's going to make an impact tomorrow. And again, the Islanders are home. He's going to get away from the matchup that Tampa Bay's been putting on him, and hopefully that benefits the Islanders.
Filk?
I'm going to say back in the New York groove, Islanders win Game 3. I think they're going to come back strong, and the home crowd in the last change are definitely going to help them. I think they're winning Game 3. I think the teams will split on at the Coliseum, but I think the Islanders are probably going to take Game.
I think they're going to split as well, but my headline is going to be the opposite direction from you guys. Lightning strikes the barn, and I think the Lightning are going to take Game 3. I think they're going to drop Game 4 because, again, you were talking about that trend. It seems to be I don't want to say they let up against the Bruins. They definitely let up against the Penguins because the Penguins came out. They could have blown their doors off in Game 3, but fortunately, they had Tristan Jarry in that. We also want to know what you guys think. Fortunately, I got at least 4 people watching right now, but you've been also watching all the videos, liking all the videos, and sharing all the videos. Don't forget to comment as well. We like to talk hockey. That's why we're even doing this to begin with.
They're a
So you can also put a comment right now, and I'll put it up there. All right.
My Tristan Jarry impersonation.
Oh, let me see it again. I wasn't looking. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like, he always blame the glove. Same thing with baseball. Always blame the glove. But we still have more New York hockey news this week, and it's news that is absolutely music to the ears of me and Mr. John Folkowski. The New York Rangers have a brand new head coach, and it is none other than the guy we've been calling for, Gerard Gallant.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Now, I just got to say this. There's been there's a Facebook post on a group that I was in, and somebody says, "Oh, another recycled coach, doesn't really impress me." And I couldn't help but just think,
recycled?
You're an idiot, because everyone's basically a recycled. You know who wasn't a recycled coach? David Quinn. He was fantastic for this organization. You know, it's just, come on. You know what? You know who else was a recycled coach? Scotty Bowman. You know, only the winningest coach of all freaking time. You know who else was recycled? Mike Keenan. Oh, didn't he win a Stanley Cup with the New York Rangers?
Mike Keenan gets around more than one of those girls that does the world's oldest service. I'm gonna put a PG manner, even though I'm making a very X-rated allusion.
Yeah, the world's oldest profession. But I mean, although I still don't think that's exactly true, because how exactly did you pay for the services? There had to be another profession in order to get there. But still, so finishing this up, just as one point, you go with Gerard Gallant. That's who you had to go with. This guy has a proven track record. First, I have his career coaching record right here, that I'll be flashing throughout this entire thing. But you're talking about a guy that's got over almost a 600 winning percentage in his last two stops. He has a 600 winning percentage actually in Vegas, and he was like 58% with the Florida Panthers. That's with the Florida freaking Panthers and a team that didn't exist before he got there. I mean, when fans don't want to say that they shouldn't be excited, and by the way, there will be a video I'm going to be making comparing Mike Keenan to Gerard Gallant. But when fans want to say, that we shouldn't be excited by this hire, why? That's ridiculous. Oh, yeah. Well, no, don't worry. We're getting that off. But, folks, so how is this team going to change under Gerard Gallant?
I guess we're going to me. Well, the one thing, let me just start off by saying that I wish I should have just sent you a little intro for me for this segment, because I would have used Johnny Nash's "I can see clearly now that Quinn is gone. Dun it, dun it. Gallant will take all obstacles in his way."
Well, I could still do that for the edited version,
because that is literally my friggin' mindset right now. Is just, oh my god, so happy. I will actually answer that, Mr. Goldberg. Vegas got rid of Gallant because there were some backstage problems with him. He's had problems with ownerships because Gerard Gallant has wanted more of a hands-on approach with personnel and front office decisions. So player decisions, GM moves, kind of like how, I don't know if you're familiar with the Jets and their pursuit of Mike McCarthy a couple of years back before they hired Mr. Crazy Bug Eye Adam Gase. Mike McCarthy wanted autonomy. He wanted to be basically the general manager and the head coach. So, Gerard Gallant has had some run-ins with previous ownerships. I don't really put too much stock into what happened with Florida, because Florida had a mess in ownership. Now they have new ownership.
And in the GM too.
Yeah, they can the GM. So now it's a completely different group of Florida, and I'm telling you right now, they probably wish if they didn't have Quenneville, they would wish that they had Gallant back, because Quenneville is just one of the best of all time. But Gallant's the perfect fit for this team. He really is. And I don't know if any of you saw it, but Jaromir Jagr gave his seal of approval yesterday in the New York Post. Larry Brooks actually wrote a great article about it and referenced the fact that Jagr went to bat for Gallant. And Jagr stated that he will let his star players do their thing, and he will give the young players the ability to go out there and, show their creativity and not stifle them. And not that we needed to hear that from Jaromir Jagr, because we saw it happen in Florida. I know Anthony's Islanders ended up beating them in 2016 in that first round, that John Tavares overtime goal.
And John Tavares game-tying goal in Game 6.
Yeah, and then he had the overtime goal then.
No, he had both. He had the tying one and the overtime winner. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. Islander fans, John Tavares. Keep going, Filk. We do not say his name.
Oh, well, Marc just triggered an entire fan base. But yeah, I mean, you have a guy that he can take those young players and develop them to a next level. And he did that with Barkov, Huberdeau, Trocheck, Marchessault, Smith. And then with the latter two, Marchessault and Smith, in Vegas again. And then does anybody know what William Karlsson was in Columbus? You know what he was? He was a throwaway. They wanted nothing to do with him. And then he goes to Vegas, and Gallant helps turn him into a 40-goal scorer. And yeah, I know he's probably not going to score 40 again, yada, yada. But he's still a top 6 forward. And that's what we need. We need a coach that can turn these guys into those players that know how to win, that know how to get to that next level, that develop. And we didn't need Jaromir Jagr to tell us that. But Jaromir Jagr just comforted every Ranger fan that was either on the fence or not too excited about Gallant. Now you have every reason to be excited because Jagr gave the seal of approval. And who doesn't love Jaromir Jagr as a Ranger fan? You know what? I didn't like him when he first came here, but he won me over. Even though I have some personal, I have a family member that knows Jagr pretty well, and she vouches for him too. But
okay.
Yeah,
thought that was going to go the other direction for a minute.
No. My aunt worked for the Garden for almost 10 years and actually basically designed Marc Messier's and Mike Richter's retirement ceremonies from head to toe. And she had a lot of good experiences with Jagr. So I'm pretty sure she'd be happy to hear that as well. But you know what? This is the step in the right direction. This is what they needed. And you know what? When everybody talked about, I love how you made the Keenan comparison before, because Gerard Gallant is going to come in and he's going to be that guy that could at least be their Buck Showalter. He may not get them all the way there, but him and Keenan are like here and there in terms of, personalities. Gallant will be able to handle the personalities better, but it's the right move. It's the right coach. It's the right time. Let's go get him, boys.
Now, we haven't heard from Anthony because we've been dominating this entire thing. So please, Mr. Larocco, give your thoughts.
I mean, I think it's huge for the Rangers. I think it was the right hire. I know with Brindamore likely going back to Carolina, kind of really sealed the deal for the Rangers. I mean, this guy, he was available, and they made, like I said, they made the right hire. And what I think it will do for the Rangers is make a comparison for you guys. They had a bad coach, David Quinn, who didn't really know how to develop players. And before Barry Trotz came to the Islanders, you had Doug Weight. And Doug Weight, great person. Me and Filk met him one time. But coach-wise, I mean, look, he had look what, I'm going to make this comparison because there's guys like on the Rangers like Lafreniere, Kakko, Chytil, like Brock Nelson before Barry Trotz was a vanilla, just 20, 25 goal scorer, fine, but he didn't hustle every night. He wasn't great defensively. And now look at Brock Nelson. Brock Nelson gets matchups against other teams' top line sometimes. He's a much better all-around player. Now he's more, now not just being a goal scorer, he passes the puck better. He's a more aware player. And that's the type of thing that a coach like Trotz Gallant can do for players. A lot of times players have talent, but they don't have the right guidance and coaching to really bring them to their full potential. And that's what I think Gallant has the opportunity to do here for the Rangers. So, like I said, I think he's going to make a world of difference. I think he's going to demand more accountability. I think he's going to improve their defensive structure, although it did get better this past year. I think he can make that even better. And I think he'll give some freedom to his offensive players to go out and do their thing, not be afraid of, having your ass stapled to the bench if you make a mistake. So this is great for the Rangers. I mean, listen, I know we play in a tough Metropolitan division, but with Gallant at the helm, they make the right tinkering to their roster. They could push for a playoff spot next year. I know it's going to be really tough with Carolina back in the division, and you still have, teams like Pittsburgh, which, by the way, I'm waiting for them to just fall out. Seems like it never happens.
And Washington.
And Washington. Actually, truth be told, before this season started, my predictions were for the Rangers and Flyers to make the playoffs, along with the Bruins and Islanders, and the Capitals the Penguins missed. Boy, was I wrong there, but I just based that upon
me too.
I based that upon the recent exits early in the playoffs, and just they're getting older, but they just keep battling. But anyway, tough division or not, I think the Rangers can really push here this coming season, and it started with the right coaching choice. So, happy for you guys. Gallant's a good coach. I mean, now you got Laviolette in that division, Trotz, Gallant.
Brenda Moore,
even
Lindy Ruff.
Yeah, Brenda Moore. Yeah. So, it's gonna be a battle. But yeah, no, this is the right hire. The Rangers could have got. I'm glad they didn't get too cute. Hire Rick Tocchet. Not that he's a bad coach or went off the board. They made the right decision here. So kudos to Drury, and like I said, I think the Rangers are going to flourish under Gallant.
Before you go, Marc, caveat with Carolina, no Dougie Hamilton. How does that affect them?
They were good without Dougie Hamilton.
They were good without Hamilton, but now they're going to have to be better without Dougie Hamilton because he's probably not going to be there this upcoming season. They have a cap crunch.
They do have a cap crunch. They have a lot of questions they have to answer.
Who doesn't, really?
I guess you're right, but I think Carolina's is just about as bad as anyone's, maybe sans Colorado. The Islanders have one too that they're going to have to deal with. The Rangers are going to have to be a little creative this offseason, but I think they can get things done. But, that depends on if they add Eichel or not.
Well, that's also why the Eichel situation, we're going to have a whole another topic about that first. Before I even think about signing off on this, I do have to say this. First things first, just by naming Gerard Gallant, the Rangers got better in their own end. David Quinn preached high danger chances and for and against. That's what David Quinn preached. They were, I think, second in the league in high danger chances against, and third in the league high danger chances for. And you wonder why these goalies are out on an island all the time, why they were seeing 35 shots a night. They got better with Jacques Martin, but again, we have a professional coach. That's what we as Ranger fans have right now. And then just closing out, you got a guy that took a team that didn't exist to the Stanley Cup Finals. I cannot emphasize that enough. It wasn't a fluke. He did it. And he beat good teams in order to get there. He beat Winnipeg when they were at their best. So,
there's no way.
Yeah,
Marc, before you close it out, I actually, because you just mentioned Eichel's name, I wanted to mention. I don't know if any of you guys read Pierre LeBrun's article in The Athletic from earlier this morning, but I read it, and he said that that discussions with Buffalo and other teams and Eichel have actually been escalating to the point where he thinks there's a possibility that Eichel could be traded before the end of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
wow.
Not just the draft. Yeah, he said things are intensifying. He said he's not definite, but he said it's possible that he could be dealt while the Stanley Cup playoffs is still going on. And he said, I'm trying to remember now. He mentioned L.A., Minnesota, Philadelphia, the Rangers. And
Montreal.
there were two other. Was it Montreal? It might have been. There were two other teams he mentioned, but I remember L.A., Philly, Rangers, and Minnesota for sure. And then he listed two other. Oh, Anaheim.
We're out.
And it might have been Montreal. I can't remember that last team.
But I've heard of Montreal being rumored in there for a while. John, why would he be out?
LA said they were out. A beat writer named John Hover came out the other day and said LA said they were out on Jack Eichel. And I have a feeling, this is just speculation, conjecture on my part, but I have a feeling that they refuse to budge from Quentin Byfield. And LA absolutely refuses, and rightfully so, to deal him for Eichel. If if Buffalo fans think that they're going to get one of those types of prospects for Jack Eichel, I'm going to tell you right now, you will be disappointed. Just letting you know right now, it's probably not going to happen. You're not getting a Lafreniere and you're not getting a Byfield for him because no one's going to take on a $10 million cap hit and a major injury risk for a guy like Eichel. And not only that, but he's got a no movement clause that kicks in a year. Good luck dealing him beforehand because if that day comes, he controls where he goes. So
right, and then basically it's going to be the Rangers or bust. I think after that.
Adams, that's
I pulled it.
that wall.
I pulled it up. He said teams I believe make sense: Los Angeles, Minnesota, Anaheim, Columbus, Philadelphia, the Rangers, amongst others.
Yeah, I mean, he believes that it makes sense. That's different from them being in on. But
yeah,
like I said, John Hofer came out the other day and literally said that LA is out on Eichel. And I mean, could that be a smokescreen? Sure. But I highly doubt it is because Buffalo seems to want the world for this guy. And I get it, rightfully so. Adams has every right to
Not going to get it.
But no team's going to want to give up those types of prospects and those types of young roster players for a guy like this in this situation. They know Adams has his back against the wall.
I wonder if Columbus would offer up Seth Jones. I'm sure they would for Eichel, being that he wants out.
Not enough.
Value to them. Why is Seth Jones going to re-sign in Buffalo?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, that's a good point.
But again, the injury situation. I guess we're really doing a Jack Eichel video right now. The injury situation with Jack Eichel makes it impossible for me. If I'm a GM, if I'm Chris Drury, you're telling me I got to give you Nils Lundqvist and Vitaly Kravtsov and Filip and probably like a Ryan Strome only to match up the salary. That's even too much for me right now. To take on $10 million risk, let's say he has the surgery, he's fine, he's an all-star again, and he's back on the way that we all think his career should go. He's a video game player, he's a video game character again. That would be great. But the very real risk of he has that neck surgery, he's never the same again. And now basically you're looking at Theo Fleury, 1999. No, and absolutely not.
Very good player for the Rangers in 2001. He was actually leading the NHL in scoring that year before his substance abuse stint.
Right. That's why I said 1999.
He actually had a 90-point season in 99.
He had 12 goals.
Between the Flames and Colorado, he had a 90-point season that year.
Oh, no, I was thinking 99-2000.
Oh,
the Rangers.
Yeah,
12 goals for the Rangers that year.
Yeah, that team was putrid. But yeah, about 1988, 99. Okay, never mind then. But
okay, all right.
Here's something that a lot of people don't know. The surgery that Jack Eichel wants, Peyton Manning actually had. And Peyton Manning, when he missed that season with the Colts before he was dealt away to, the Broncos, he had that surgery. He came back, and he was really good for the Denver Broncos, especially that first year where he broke all those records. And I had him in fantasy football that year. I would know. But Peyton Manning had it, and he could come back. And he did it in a sport where it's higher impact, and you have 300, close to sometimes 400-pound guys, driving you into the ground. So, I mean, if you could take that, if Peyton Manning in his mid to late 30s can take that type of impact, I think Jack Eichel can come back from it in hockey. I mean, it's still a risk. Jack Eichel's 24, so he's younger. But, again, no team is going to give you the assets that you're looking for. I would say that, all right, Statboy Steven, I'm going to mention him right now, mentioned the Rick Nash trade as a comparable. I don't know if I see that entirely because I think it might take a little more. But let's just say it's Pavel Buchnevich, one of Ryan Strome or Filip, one of their top prospects, like either Kravtsov, Lundqvist, Zach Jones, someone like that, and then a first-round pick. I do that for Eichel. I do that. And I know a lot of people are not going to want to give up Nils Lundqvist, and rightfully so, but Jack Eichel is a proven elite player. And this team obviously has been sent a message. Start winning now or things are going to change and heads are going to roll. And it's already happened. You've seen the coach, you've seen the GM and the president. They're all gone. So now there's an onus on this team to win sooner than later. You have 5 years left of Artemi Panarin on his current deal. Mika Zibanejad's deal expires after this upcoming season. They're going to make that move. I know a lot of people are not going to like it, but they're going to make that move.
Well, as just to close on this and saying for Nils Lundqvist, as I put the video of the highlights of him over in Sweden, and I referred to it as porn. That kid looks like the second coming of Sergei Zubov, and if that's the case, I don't want to deal him. So there's ways around it. After all, you know what? One of my knocks on Jeff Gorton, and you'd agree with me on this one, Filk, is when they traded Ryan McDonough, we all and JT Miller, we all looked at that trade and said, I think they misspelled Sergachev.
I knew they weren't going to get Sergachev or points. That was a pipe dream, but they didn't get enough. Not nearly enough.
Not nearly enough. Not nearly enough at all. So, all right. So there's a lot to digest from this. There'll be 2 separate videos in the edited versions. What do you think about Gerard Gallant coming to the New York Rangers? Is it immediately changing around the play of this team? And how about the coaches in this division right now? You have Alain Vigneault, Gerard Gallant, Peter Lavalliette, Barry Trotz, Rod Brindamore is coming back. I always want to go to Bruce Cassidy. I made that mistake the other day. I mean, come on. Lindy Ruff is still a good head coach. And, this is going to be murderer's row for coaches. So sound off on that. What do you think the Rangers should give up for Jack Eichel? Like, share, subscribe. Please, because we really appreciate it. And we've been growing thanks to you guys. So, guys, let's go and do some bar talk.
I'm going to take a shot on this one. I'm going to say beer.
I'm buying everybody around on this. Oh, my God.
All right. Welcome to the All Things Rangers Bar Talk, where we gauge our confidence on NHL topics by our choice of drink. And once again, I am Mark Williams. I am joined by Mr. John Folkowski. He is right up there with me. And down on the bottom, Mr. Anthony LaRocco. And we're going to be starting with Anthony on the first one. Semyon Varlamov will steal as many games in this series as Andrei Vasilevsky.
I'm gonna go shot. I know Varlamov has played a lot better. Thankfully, he's gotten a little bit back to form. But Vasilevsky's the best goalie in the world. You've seen some of the saves he's made already this series. And in Game 1, he robbed Pajot, and then he went around the net, passed it to Palmieri. He made a fantastic save on Palmieri. Last night, he made a nice glove save on Palmieri that looked like it was ticketed for the net. And he's just, he's all world. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got the skill. This is the guy that where if the Islanders shut down Tampa Bay, he could still win the game by shutting down their offense. So no credit, no discredit Varlamov. He's still a very good goalie, and like I said, he's found his game. But Vasilevsky is more capable of stealing games. Let's just hope for the Islanders' sake it doesn't come down to that. But he is capable of it.
This is tough because I think if the Islanders want to shut down Tampa, it's not just going to come down to the forwards versus the defense and those types of matchup. Varlamov's got to be at the top of his game. He cannot afford to be off his game in the slightest bit. So I think if the Islanders are going to win, Varlamov is going to have to steal games. I'm going to say beer because I don't know if it'll necessarily happen. I can't say shot, though, because I think that Varlamov's going to need to be that difference maker for them to win the series. So I'm gonna say beer here.
I'm going to go beer, too, because Varlamov has shown that he could actually make some great saves. The one on Kucherov last night. Ridiculous. Oh, my goodness.
Ridiculous.
That was ridiculous. The only reason why I'm obviously I'm favoring Vasilevsky because he's the reigning Vezina Trophy winner. And again, that save, he made several saves. The one on Palmieri you just mentioned, he made a couple saves when they were up 2-1 that were really critical. So, yeah, and like the partial break. No, I went to the game 1 for a second. The partial break that Beuvillier had. But yeah, the Beuvillier save in game 2. Yeah, that was right there.
He made another ridiculous save right before Palmieri's, when he robbed Palmieri. He made two within maybe about a 2-minute span that were just like, are you kidding me?
Which, by the way, if you were listening to the Tampa Bay radio feed, like most of us were on NHL Sirius XM, you could just hear, and then the shot goes over, and, leaving it up to 79-year-old Phil Esposito to explain everything to 30 seconds later. That's not a good call. Just announce the game, okay? You don't have to make a spectacle out of it.
What's with the hostility, Phil?
All right, moving on to the next one. This is a holdover from last week, but suggested by Mr. Larocco. Once again, JG Pageau is showing that he's a Conn Smythe Trophy candidate. Anthony, we're going to start with you on this one.
I know Beuvillier has been good, but I mean, if the Islanders go to the Stanley Cup Finals, I mean, depending on obviously, of course, what happens the rest of this series, but if they advance, I mean, I gotta buy everyone around on this. I think Pageau, like I said, he's putting up the points, and he's getting the tough matchups. You know, he's one of those guys that, you know, he's not very big, but he has a lot of fight in him. He doesn't lose many battles. You know, he gets the tough matchups. He's scoring goals. Without Pageau this series, I think the Islanders would be in trouble if he weren't able to play. He's that important to the team. So I think, you know, again, not a lot could change. You know, for instance, Barzal could completely go off, carry the Islanders to the finals, and all of a sudden, you know, he could be the guy. But right now, I think Pageau's been their best player, along with probably Pelech this whole playoffs. But I think Pageau's crucial to their success, and you saw it for the 15 minutes he was out of the game last night with the Islanders. I mean, they have great center depth, thankfully, because even with Zajac, they still have formidable 4 centers, but they missed him, and you saw how important he is.
Oh, Phil, the question also reminds me once again to say this. Fuck you, JG Pageau. Once again, the 2017 playoffs, that's all. And I say that again with all admiration. Right back to you. And hatred.
Scotch. Scotch. Can I buy rounds of scotch?
Yes.
Okay, so then I'll just buy rounds of scotch here. Because Scotch. But I mean, yeah, you got to buy everybody around on this. He's been pretty good. He's been excellent. I know we both can't stand his guts because of the fact that he knocked us out in 2017, but knocked our boys out, I should say, in 2017. But he's been good. He's been really good. He's been the shutdown center they've needed. You could see why they gave up what they gave up to get him at last year's deadline, and he's been worth the acquisition. So I would say, because the question says candidate. It doesn't say winner. I don't necessarily think he would be a Conn Smythe winner. I think that it probably would go to a goaltender, but I definitely think that he deserves a shit ton of recognition for the way that he's played throughout these playoffs.
I'm also going to refer to my shirt. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this, but also, by the way, say it's dangerous to play a game without Pageau. You know what? I gotta agree with you guys. Buy everybody around on this. Pageau has probably been, I think, the best Islander. The reason why it's not going to be a goaltender if the Islanders make the Stanley Cup Finals and win or lose is because the goaltenders split the first 2 rounds. So I don't see it being one of them.
Point.
I mean,
that's a real point.
12 wins for the finals, it would have to be a great finals. Anyway, but with Pageau, he's gotten all the tough matchups, and Anthony's kind of turning my head on this and just making me go, can you find a guy that is not more of a Lou Lamoriello player than JG Pageau? Like he's He's got a little bit of an attitude. He plays defense well. He scores opportune goals. I mean, he might as well be John Madden while we're at it. So,
oh my God, get out of my head! Fucking head! I was just gonna fucking say that. Better version of John Madden. He's a little more physical, but he's a better version of John Madden offensively.
Yeah, and I think he's probably a better version of Bobby Holik as well while we're at it. So,
I wouldn't. Well,
like
that.
Well, he doesn't have that bomb for the shot. Moving on, the Rangers are going to have a surprise breakout player next season. Mr. Folkowski, this goes to you.
I don't know about surprise because I think Alexis, Lafreniere, and Kakko are both going to break out next year. I think they're gonna be guys that are just going to take that next step. Kakko looked like he was going to this year, but there was a certain now gone head coach that refused to let them do anything other than shoot or pass on 2-on-1s. Thanks, Ryan Spooner, for that little tidbit because we knew that, but we needed someone to reaffirm that. So I'm gonna say Beer only because I'm really gonna be a stickler about the word surprise. I think maybe Keandre Miller might take that next step as well. I don't want to get too optimistic. I think that Gallant's going to get the best out of the roster that he can. And I really think there's going to be a few guys that are going to take that next step. But I don't know about a surprise necessarily. So I'm going to say Beer.
Okay. Anthony?
I'm going to say Beer too because my first thing that came to my head was, Kakko, Lafreniere, and both those guys were high picks, so they're expected to eventually flourish, and I think it would be one of them. So, John mentioned Miller, there's other guys on that roster, Kravtsov, but if I had to pick, those would be the two. So I'm going to say Beer, and I hope for Kakko's sake he does, because if Kakko doesn't put up good offensive numbers again after 3 years, I know a lot of people in New York are going to, get on him really bad. So, he's the one that really needs it to be him personally. But yeah, I'm going to go Beer there.
I couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to agree with that because the pressure is going to start being on him. But I think this kid is for real. He's going to break out. You know what? This was my question. I'm still going to go with. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one because that's what Gallant does. He gets the most out of his players. There's a guy that's on this roster. We're not even thinking of. I wouldn't be surprised if he got 20 goals out of Brett Howden. That's how good of a coach he is. Now, by the way. You
take that back, you sacrilegious son of a bitch. Don't you dare say that.
But
you know that you have to play 20 damn minutes a game for that to happen, and you're going to make your head explode.
But again, this is Brett. I mean, that's how good of a coach that Gerard Gallant is. He got William Karlsson, who was a castaway, to be there. Vitaly Kravtsov is there as a guy that we're talking about. And just to mention in on that, does he go under the surprise? I don't think so. That's what Filk got me to change around my opinion on.
He's a surprise.
Yeah, he would because he's still a top 10 pick. He was 11. Right?
No, I'm just saying only because of the fact that Kravtsov only played a certain amount of games this past season. So I don't know if there's anybody that's expecting him to really take off this upcoming year. So I would agree with you, Goldberg. I think if Kravtsov breaks out, if he's not traded for Eichel, that would go a long way to this team's success.
And again, that's the reason why I keep on saying you got to move Pavel Buchnevich to get him playing time. And that's how you also manage a cap. You get guys that are making less to be more productive players. You can't just keep paying everybody because then you end up with cap crunches. Anthony already knows this, but this is the special for. Oh wait, we got one more comment.
I forgot about this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Howden. Oh my God, that's
Marc
great.
With me, he wants to just mess with my head. He wants me to go off the rocker, off the edge, drive me over. Oh yeah, you're gonna meet the macho man.
Oh yeah. Here's the one that's tailor-made for me and Filk, Anthony, and you're going to get to answer this first. It will take longer than a month for Marc or Filk to question a decision made by Gerard Gallant.
It'll take. I'm gonna say shot. I think he's gonna do something that you're gonna vehemently disagree with, even though how much you love him. You're gonna question it. I mean, it's bound to happen. I mean, even Trotz every now and then I question what he's doing, and he's great. So I'm gonna say it's not gonna take longer than a month for that to happen. It's gonna happen. It'll happen before that.
Do you really have to stack the deck against me with this one? Like, that's the fucking purpose of all this? Is to just stack the deck? Insurmountable odds against me? You should be playing Phil Collins against all odds right now, because that's what it'd be like. Take a look at me now. Yeah, that is, yeah, there's just an empty space because you know that I'm going to do it. But the thing is, yeah, you don't you ever mention that name again. No more, you Jessamine. No more.
He is our he who will not be named.
Yeah, that's a bad name. We don't speak of that name. It causes a lot of bad juju around here. But yeah, this is just you know what? All coaches do it. All coaches also have that one guy that for some reason they love, and nobody gets the affair. It happens in all sports. It does. It's just a matter. It's human nature. But I to me personally, I would give Gallant a longer leash than a guy like Quinn, who repeatedly just did not give someone like Kakko the minutes, even though the analytics and the eye test told you that he deserved more of a leash. So I you know what? I'm going to say beer here because I'm willing to give Gallant the benefit of the doubt. I wasn't willing with Quinn because Quinn didn't give me a reason to give him a benefit of the doubt. So I'm going to say beer.
I'm going to go and buy everybody around on this only because of this. I'm going to use two examples. One, just like what Anthony says, in Trotz we trust whenever he does that. But the one I'm going to go with, and I'll use this little personal example. I had a crush on the girl that ended up being my high school girlfriend for like 3 years. And that girl couldn't do any wrong for at least a year with me. So it was, I was always that smitten with her. So, and she was a fantastic girl too. Jen Traxler, there you go. But it's just, I'm going to say it's going to take longer than a month because I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. It's the only way to do it. And yeah, there we go. And again, it's that he's gotten results. You can't get around that. And I don't even know. Did Quinn have an NCAA championship?
No, he went to the championship game and lost. And he had Jack Eichel. He had one of the best players in the history of the NCAA on his team. And in an NCAA, you can win with one guy like that, being that good. Johnny Gaudreau in Boston College won like that, even though they had a really good team.
They had a real good line. They had a real good top line.
You can win with one guy being that damn good. So I don't get it. I really don't.
So again, we're going to give him a much longer leash. And I'll start this one that's coming up to one of my favorite topics, Mr. Carey Price, who made an outstanding glove save and winked during game one and just went, and it was a la Patrick Waugh. It was all over ESPN and NHL Network. It was beautiful. It is not equal in any way. I'm buying everybody around on this. Are you kidding me? Patrick Waugh did it in the Stanley Cup Finals to let the LA Kings know you are not going to score on me. And I believe it was in overtime of Game 3, where both games went to overtime, and he even said that he went into the locker room and said, "Boys, I'm not going to let another one in, and don't worry about that. You guys just go out and go get the winner." Well, Patrick did just that because that's how good Patrick is. No offense, Carey Price. You're probably a really nice guy, and I would love to meet you someday. But stop with the Carey Price, Patrick Waugh stuff. There's two things between that and when he made a save in the Montreal Forum. The Montreal Forum, but the Bell Center mocked him and he raised his arms like this, like, I can't believe I made the save, just like Patrick Waugh did back in 1995. Well, if you also remember, he was traded right after that game too. So it's not even close on the same thing. Anthony, take it away before my head explodes.
I'll go round two. I mean, because when Price made that save, Montreal was already down a goal or two, correct? It wasn't when he made that save, didn't it? Yeah, so, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a great save, and Carey Price has a lot of swagger, but, I mean, I think that was, it's not like Montreal was winning, 1-0, and he was just getting peppered, making save after save, holding them in. So, I'm going to say round, not particularly close on that one.
And I believe Filk is doing the Patrick Waugh right now.
What? I could not hear you. My Stanley Cup rings were plugged into my ears. Yeah, no, we're buying everybody around on this, and I don't ever want to see that comparison ever again, because I did it to a team that had the last 40-point playoff scorer on it, and he was obviously the only guy that's ever done it in multiple postseasons. He also owns the record for, the most points in a postseason and the most points in the postseason for his career. So, yeah, he did it to stop Wayne Gretzky resurging his career at one of the most pivotal times in Gretzky's career. So, yeah, no. And I don't ever want to hear that again. So, also, just as a side note, if you haven't seen it, watch Steve Dangle's Dang It's on the Patrick Waugh game against the Red Wings, in which he got shelled for 9, because, oh, man, that's a good one. That is a real good one. And the mock chant, when they mock chanted him. Yeah, so watch that.
And again, by the way, Steve Dangle's awesome. I love his trade trees, which are even better than that.
Lindros one, the Gretzky one, that's
Gretzky one, yeah.
Active, by the way. That ended this season, towards the end of the season. Amazing.
So, to a hot button issue that was actually being discussed on NHL radio, we're going to discuss it right here because we're plagiarists. And it's possible for a Canadian team to win a Stanley Cup in today's NHL. Filk, I got to start with you.
Well, I'm going to say beer because it's technically possible, especially right now, considering that Montreal, as you list on the ticker below, is still playing for the Cup. They're in the Final Four. This is the first time they've gotten this far since 2014, when they lost to you-know-who. We were kind of there for those games. Hi. But, yeah, I mean, it's possible. Vancouver, if they add the right pieces in the future, could be a real pain in the ass to deal with. Calgary looks like they're on the way out. It looks like there's going to be a culture change and a big change coming soon to Calgary. I don't think Johnny Gaudreau is going to be there either. I think Sean Monahan may be dealt. So I think Calgary is probably going to go the other direction. Ottawa is on the way up, and they're going to be a real handful for a long time. Toronto, I don't know. You want to say they're in purgatory? I don't know, because they don't seem like they know how to build a team properly. They have the right pieces in place, but they need to add in certain areas, and they just don't know what to do. Edmonton, I don't know if they'll ever get to that because they just don't know how to build around Draisaitl and McDavid. I mean, I guess if the idea is to hope that those two can basically win you a Stanley Cup, then good luck with that. And then, I mean, you have obviously Montreal. I think things are going to change for them. I think Danault's gone after this season. So I don't know if I see one anytime soon, but maybe within the next 10 to 15 years, you might have a team like Ottawa or Vancouver in there that are real legitimate threats for it. So I'm saying beer.
Anthony, it's been too long since we heard you.
I mean, I gotta go round because yeah, sure, it's possible for a Canadian team to win a Stanley Cup. I just don't think any of them are particularly close right now. Toronto seems to collapse every year. Ottawa still has some ways to go, but they're on the right track. Winnipeg, yeah, I mean Winnipeg is a good team. I don't think they're as bad as the team that Montreal swept. I think they're a lot better than that. I just think a lot went wrong for them there. But they got pieces in place. They got one of the best goalies. They got some good offense with Chytil, Wheeler, Ehlers. So they got the scoring power. Vancouver is an intriguing one to me. Obviously Pettersson's great, Besser's good, Horvat's good. Their defense and goaltending, if Demko can turn out to be the real deal, I know Holtby's getting older, so he's not really the answer in goal there long term. But they got a bright future. And then Montreal, they're in the Final Four right now. So there's the problem with the Canadian teams. I think it seems like lately there are a lot of players that seem like they don't want to play in Canada unless you're like from there. I mean, a lot of players, if you go through like a lot of like recent players have been traded, you go through their no trade list and stuff. It's always like, oh, every Canadian team's on there, So it's and that part's tough too because obviously you need to win a cup, you need the right players to build a team, and it seems like there are a lot of players around the league that prefer to play in the States, so that's a little bit of a disadvantage. But
Actually, we just lost Anthony for a minute. We should get him back in a second.
But
yeah,
on what he was saying there, the taxes in Canada are not great, and I think that's a big part of the problem too. I think not only the weather, I think players want to be somewhere where they can go, they can live in the weather, but I think the taxes up there are bad. But
totally got just disconnected, but that was weird. But yeah, basically to wrap it up, I said, yeah, it's possible. None of the teams are particularly close right now, in my opinion. So, Toronto, you would say is the closest, but they can't get over the hump. It seems like whatever they do, they just fail. So they need a culture change there. But yeah, it's possible, but I don't see it happening in the next 5 years or so.
I'm gonna go beer as well because you can't go shot with this. If you go shot with this, then it's gonna be then that's also kind of, it's almost like illusion if you say that they can't win a game and they can't win a Stanley Cup. It's difficult. It's very difficult because of everything you guys just outlined. The tax situations. Usually players don't want to go back to Canadian cities unless they're from there. Some of them like the anonymity of being in. Take for instance like Steven Stamkos in Florida. He can go out and go play around a golf right now, and he's been in Florida 12 years and a champion. And people would be like, "Oh, look, hey, there's Steve." And in Toronto, that same situation came up with John Tavares. They'd be on him on the subway, going, "You missed that breakaway last night." So it's just. Like immediately stuff like that would happen. And don't get me wrong, that's just the way fan bases are, because New York still certainly has that with baseball or basketball and football. Geez, if nothing's harder than being a Dallas Cowboy quarterback, I would say, because you're getting second guessed everywhere by everyone. I mean, it's a difficult situation also when you got players that just don't want to go back. And you're going to have to – it's going to be somebody that's going to have to do well with the draft, make the right trades. And, I mean, because free agents will still sign there. I mean, Louis Eriksson signed up there. We talked about the Maple Leafs. The Maple Leaf Stars, I don't think it's any accident. The Maple Leaf Stars, actually Mitch Marner now. But before that, it was Austin Matthews and Phil Kessel and James Van Riemsdyk, and let me know when I get to a Canadian. So, and before that was Matt Sundin. So it's foreigners that don't understand what it's like to be a Maple Leaf. I think Wayne Gretzky said it once. One of the three traditions was church on, or two traditions in Toronto, church on Sunday and the Maple Leafs on Saturday. So it's I think it's still possible. They just gotta, most of them gotta act like small market teams, even though they're big market teams, like the Canadians. They'll spend money on anybody. You know what? We'll save the last one for the honest press conferences. So we want to know your thoughts. I know we were a little bit all over the place right there, but what do you think about? Is there going to be a surprise breakout player under Gerard Gallant? Is Carey Price's wink? Hey, look what I got when I was down by 2 goals, and JG Pajot, about as important to the Islanders. Put it all in the comments down below. And you can even comment right now. Give us a like, share, and subscribe as well. So, guys, we're going to do some honest press conferences.
Connor, just can you give me your sense of kind of where the group is at?
Once again, my teammates come up short.
Still, I love the look on his face. All right. We're doing these honest press conferences where we are saying the things that the players or anyone involved really would wish they could say. So we're going to start with Mr. Anthony LaRocco and his boy, Adam Pelech.
So we're going back home, tied up 1-1. We're 3 wins away from going to the Stanley Cup final. And, I had my coming out party, fellas. Pierre Maguire, after we beat Boston in Game 6, interviewed me. He said I'm one of the best shutdown defensemen in the National Hockey League. And Elliot Friedman the other day called me elite. I'm Pelly. I shut down other teams' top players. Brayden Point, Nikita Kucherov. See what happened in Game 1? You guys enjoy that? You're not seeing anything against me. Yeah, last night, Game 2, you guys had a little bit more success. But, we were on the road. So, Trotzy split up, sometimes split me and Pullock up. So, one of us were on the ice at all times. So sometimes I was playing with no adoption last year. He's just a youngster. Sometimes I have to, cover for his mistakes. So back home at the Coliseum, when we're paired to Pajot, you guys aren't going to get anything on me. And, I'm a restricted free agent this summer. About 4 years ago, Garth Snow signed me to a long-term deal. At that time, I was nobody, and I just kind of took the money. So I took the $1.6 million over those 4 or 5 years, and now I'm ready to cash in this offseason. And I expect to be paid as one of the top defensemen in the league because, I am. And the Norris Trophy, I hate how every year it's given to a player, who also was really good offensively. Norris Trophy, best defenseman in the league. I should get some credit too. Yeah, I don't put up the points, but, defenseman, what are you supposed to do? Shut the other team down. And I do that with the best of them, fellas. So, watch out for me. I'm going to keep being dominant in this series, and, I'm going to hoist the Stanley Cup. I'll take some questions.
Adam, so if it comes down to keeping the team together and getting your payday, what's more important to you?
Oh, I love this team. I love the boys. But like I said, I just kind of took a contract just to make some money because, like I said, I wasn't proven yet, and now I've proved myself. So I want to keep this team together. Last year we lost Taser in a trade because we needed some cap space, which was unfortunate. But there's some money to go around. If they value me, they know how much important I am. They'll move some other guys to keep me in the fold. I don't want to see that happen. And I'm not going to go and ask for like $8 million here, but I was just making 1.6, so I expect to make at least what Pulley's making with $5 million. I think that's more than fair, and hopefully they can keep the team together with that amount.
Thanks, Adam.
No
Adam, I'm not going to ask you about last night because that was just rough for you. But I will ask you this. So do you think you could actually be Rod Langway and just win a Norris Trophy with not much points scored?
I think I can, sure. But unfortunately, the league these days, it's goes to guys who are flashy and put up points like Cale McCarr. Guy skates like a thoroughbred, puts up a lot of points. Is he really that great defensively? I mean, he's average. He's not the best defensively, but he's still up for the trophy because he puts up the points. So, it's unfair, but it is what it is. I'm just going to keep playing my game. And hell, maybe one day the league will introduce a trophy for a defenseman that's really just all about playing defense, not necessarily the points. That's another good idea. if that happens, I think I'd be a candidate decent amount of the year. So I'm not really concerned by it. I mean, I think I should get some more recognition and maybe win one day, but it's out of my control.
Well, Adam, thank you very much. And by the way, they should come up with the Gretzky Award for the most points.
Bobby Orr trophy. That's what I've been saying for years.
And the Bobby Orr trophy for the offensive defenseman. Well, we're going to move on. We have to talk to the New York Rangers' brand new head coach and Gerard Gallant, who is Mr. John Filkowski.
This is huge for me. I've wanted another chance in the NHL for so long. I'm more than happy to be here. I'm absolutely ecstatic to be here. I'm in a big city. I'm in a big market. This team hasn't won in 27 years. I know a coach named Mike Keenan that came along years ago and led this team to victory. And I'm telling you right now, I'm going to do the same thing. May not be next year, may not be the year after that, but you give me some time. The players are here. The right pieces are here. We may have to add a few to really get to that next level, but I'm going to make sure that these guys come out hard. They play hard. I'm not going to lose the locker room like the guy before me did. I don't want to say too much bad about David Quinn, but I can tell you right now, I've got the resume to win this. I took a team in Las Vegas that wasn't even a team when I took over there, and I became their first head coach. I took them to the Stanley Cup Finals in their first year, and they didn't even have the roster that they have now. There was no Max Pacioretty, Mark Stone, or Alex Pietrangelo there. I took them to the finals with Nick Schmidt as one of their best defensemen. Shea Theodore wasn't the defenseman that he is now. You know what? I can make a lot out of nothing. And you know what? My boy Yogs, coached him in Florida, comes out, gives the vote of confidence, tells everybody basically how we do it. I give the guys a little bit of a leash. I let them be creative. I let them go out there. Guys are going to make mistakes. It happens. Errors are a product of being a human being. And you know what? They're going to get their chances as long as they go out and they play hard for me. I'm telling you right now, we got the pieces. We're going to eventually win. Hop on the wagon. The time is now. I'm here, and I'm here to stay. I'll take questions.
I'll go. I guess I'll go first. Actually, I forgot my question now. Anthony, go ahead.
Coach Gallant, just wanted to bring you back to Florida when you exited. I know there was some media coverage over that. They kind of just unceremoniously sent you out the door, and there was that shot of you getting in the cab, and people saying how they sent you out was kind of classless. And what were your thoughts on that? And do you hold any ill will against the Panthers for how that ended?
I don't hold any ill will against the players themselves. I love the players. I still have a good relationship with Johnny, with Alex, Vinny before he left for Carolina, Aaron. A lot of those guys there are my guys. I love those guys. I hope nothing but the best for them, except for when they obviously play us. We're going to run you guys over when we play you guys. So with the management itself, that wasn't the best way to do it. They did what they did, but there's a new group up there. I don't really know too much about the new group. So no, I don't hold a whole lot of grudges with them. But I'll say this: I used it as fuel to motivate myself to be a better coach, and I went to Vegas in that first year, right after they fired me, and they took them to the Stanley Cup Finals. So, I mean, if you wanna say who's laughing now, I was definitely laughing then. But you know what? You gotta learn as a coach, and that was a learning experience. And I'm gonna make sure that I get my hands on that cup, that I'm lifting that cup up in New York. You guys, like I said, get on board, get on this wagon, because I'm taking these guys there. We've got all the pieces. We're going to get it done.
Gerard, you've actually had a lot of success with other organizations. My question actually is, you were hot commodity this year, and was the Rangers number one on your list, or were there any other stops you thought about going to? Detroit, perhaps, or even maybe Toronto, if they fired Sheldon Keefe.
I didn't hear anything about Toronto or Detroit. I took a couple of interviews with Columbus. That's another organization, completely different unit at the top from the last time that I was there when they let me go, probably about like 14 or so years ago. But the Rangers were number one. I actually took my first interview with the Rangers the day before I left for the World Championships. I guess you could blame me for being the reason why we started so bad at the Worlds 0-3. But once I really got my head into it, and I want to apologize to the players for that. But once we really got into it, we got everybody buying into the system, and goes to show you, I know it's the Worlds. I know the best weren't there, but when you have a group that buys in, that's what happens. You can get those types of results from teams. St. Louis was dead last in the NHL in January of 2019. And what did they do? They bought in and they won a Stanley Cup. So you know what? You buy in, that's what happens. But honestly, listen, I've got a lot to offer for this team. I really do. I've worked my ass off to get to where I was, and this Ranger interview meant more to me than anything in the world, and that's why I took it the day before I left, because I wanted this. I wanted this opportunity. I wanted to be number one. If you win in New York, you are immortalized. Look at Mike Keenan. Mike Keenan could walk on the street, and somebody would offer to buy that man a beer. They would pay for his dinner. Look at Marc Messier. He's a messiah. They literally call him the Messiah. He's a god in New York. He's revered. I want to be revered like that. And it not just because of free meals or anything like that. I want to be the guy that brings this team its fifth, its sixth, its seventh, whatever, however many Stanley Cups we can win in my time. So I'm ready to win. The guys are ready to take those next steps. It's going to be a process. But you know what? We're going to do it.
All right. Gerard, thank you very much.
You're welcome, boys.
All right. And our last and final one. Oh, my God. This is going to be a lot of improvisation. But I am Stephen Walcombe, Director of NHL Officiating. All right. Look, so it's kind of been a rough postseason for us. I'm trying my best to instruct the guys to, make the right call at all times, and notice the little things on the ice, like how many people are on the ice, for instance. Make sure you count them. If you count over 5, then that's too many, and you probably shouldn't, let another team score or that team score a goal, because it then gets a little bit of controversy after that when it's being shown on every single sports channel for the next 24 hours. So then there's also like calls like if you shove a guy into the net, clearly it's on the guy who's going to run the goalie, but it could be, an interference. I don't know. I mean, certainly, to be honest with you, I'm doing a much better job than Department of Player Safety, George Parros. I mean, he still doesn't know what the word safety means. So at least, nobody's really been harping on me too much, but I'll just take the questions. I think that's the best thing for me to do. Just take questions. You probably have so many.
Stephen, you mentioned this postseason. This has been a trend for a long time. And anytime that you guys are called into question, teams are fined for it. There's no accountability for you guys. You guys have nothing to answer to. You have no one to answer to. So what's going to change, and when is it going to change?
Well, here's the thing. We took the finest officials that were legally blind and put them on the ice so that way they could make sure that they missed several calls, like the Dwight King interference. And then the coaches have the audacity to throw my refs under the bus. Guys like Tim Peel. I mean, what do you expect? You're gonna have Bill McCreary and Andy Van Hellemond and Terry Gregson out there, or maybe even Kerry Fraser. Kerry Fraser spent so much time on his hair that he didn't have to worry about calling the game right. I mean, after all, I mean, I've seen people throw stuff at him at Madison Square Garden, and you know, he was that hair never moves whatsoever. So I mean, I welcome somebody to just think that they could do my job, but the truth is, you're gonna call my officials under the bus. I'm throwing you under the bus. Don't be criticizing. Don't be a hating just because you know you're Bruce Cassidy and you can't get a goal against the Islanders. Oh, and the Islanders just keep scoring on me, so it must be the officiating. I mean, look, the Islanders are clearly innocent angels. They're saints. It's just what they are. So I don't think it's going to really change much because in our eyes, which couldn't see the arena, even if the arena was like right in front of our faces, we don't care.
Well, thanks, Steven.
Yeah.
So, Steven, I have a question in regards to last night's game between the New York Islanders and the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I'm not referring to the too many men on the ice penalty. My question is, do you train your referees to have an eye out for when a player is embellishing and for them to punish them for it? Because there's two instances. One, last night, Anthony Beuvillier had an infraction with Kucherov, and Kucherov acted like he just got punched in the head by Evander Holyfield and did a total sell job, and Beuvillier got a penalty, and yet no one says anything to Kucherov. And then also in the third period, Andre Palat fell, and then he was laying on his stomach, and then once he didn't hear a whistle, all of a sudden he acted like he needed a stretcher, and then there was no whistle. He got up, actually got the puck, and gained zone entry into the ice and continued to play for another 30 seconds. So clearly, he must not have been all that tricken up or hurt. So how come the referees don't see these things and give these penalties players for being a bitch and embellishing?
Well, I think it's actually very derogatory to call them a bitch for embellishing. I mean, some of those guys could be really hurt. A lot of those players, I mean, I've seen a lot of tough players that never would embellish, like PK Subban and Tomas Plekanec. Guys that, I mean, Nikita Kucherov looked like he got hit by it. You don't know how strong Anthony Beuvillier is. He could be like the Hulk. You don't like him when he's angry. So what happens if he hits Nikita Kucherov and he's hurt? I don't know about that. We were trying to crack down on divers a few years ago, and it started working a little bit, but then we got away from that, and here we are again, the same exact spot. I mean, look at what happened to Kucherov in Game 4 versus Florida. He took that whack from I forget which player it was at the moment, but when he went down like a sack of potatoes, it was terrible. It was I really felt for the guy. I mean, some of these guys, they might really be hurt in that moment. They might be hurt. I mean, it's sort of what they tell you in acting. It's feel the moment and get in there and actually experience it. And sometimes that's what they do. And you know what? Maybe their feelings were hurt because when they were down on the ice, they called him a bitch, and you're like, get up, you little bitch. And that's offensive. That is offensive and derogatory, and that's something else we need out of the game. Soon we'll start giving out 2-minute penalties for that as well.
All right. Well, thanks for your time. You're terrible.
All right. Thank you. All right. That actually went better than I thought it was going to go. All right. That was some of our honest press conferences. What do you think about Adam Pelech saying he should go for the Norris Trophy? Gerard Gallant ready to raise the Stanley Cup in New York, and a Stephen Walcom and all officials kind of terrible this year and the year before and the year before and the year before. So on to our editorials. Guys, you got anything?
Yeah, I got one.
All right. Let's start you out. Here is my Filkin opinion.
You're going no.
Wait, hold on. Even though I can edit it out, I left the banner on. All right.
You're going nowhere.
then there's no. I'm looking at you, Jake.
I'm gonna hear the name and I'm gonna get PTSD.
But the cream rise to the top, oh yeah.
Oh, the cream has risen to the top because we got Gerard Gallant as a head coach. Oh, yeah. I want to snap into a Slim Jim right now, brother. Yeah, the era has come. Like I said with the Johnny Nash song, I need that Johnny Nash song because I'm going to go get lunch after this. I'm going to blast that shit, windows open. We're all down. I'm going all over. I could go do cartwheels in the damn street. How happy I am about this. So the Gerard Gallant era has begun. It's a start. It's a start. I think people need to temper their expectations. I think the team can make the playoffs. They're automatically better in their own ends because David Quinn didn't seem to know how to teach defense. I mean, I know really it's the defensive coach's job to really work with the defenseman one-on-one and everything and as a unit, but Quinn's system just didn't call for any type of defense, and he couldn't make adjustments. Couldn't make those in-game adjustments. Gerard Gallant is an X's and O's guy. He's very good at it. He's also a leader of men. He gets the most out of his players. He's not one of those guys who just yells at everybody like a John Tortorella or a Mike Keenan who wears out their welcome after a certain amount of time. I mean, I guess the one thing I would worry about would be possible run-ins with ownership. I know that he had them in his two previous stops. But, again, in Florida, they were in shambles. Their front office was a joke back then. So that's why there's a completely new group there. New coach, everything. But, I love this signing. I really do. It's a 4-year deal. I believe it's around $3.5 million a year. But this is great. It really is. It's the start of a new era here. It's the start of things going in the right direction. Signifies that they're looking to win sooner than later. There's a lot to look forward to, Ranger fans. I know that there are some that are saying things like, he was just the best available, or, it's not that great of a hire. Let me ask you this. Who the hell did you think was going to be available that was going to come along and was going to drive the needle from like a 2 to a 10 or a 12? Who was going to do that? There was no Peter Laviolette available. I mean, they missed the boat on him for a second time. There was no Joel Quenneville available, and if Joel Quenneville was available, I don't think he would have came to a rebuilding team. He wouldn't have been the guy. I mean, Florida had pieces in place. At least they had a direction that they were going in, and they were closer to being a winning team than the Rangers were. And who else? Barry Trotz, they missed the boat on that. I don't know if Barry Trotz would have even came to a rebuilding team like the Rangers that had just freshly released a letter stating that they were rebuilding. Would Trotz wanted to go through that? I personally don't think so. Could I be wrong? Sure, but I don't think so. So, Ranger fans that are not excited about this, and I get it, I sort of do in a way, but who was your answer? Who was your guy? I want to know because I don't see anybody that was out there that really would have been somebody that would have moved the needle. Would you rather had Rick Tocchet? No offense, Rick. I've actually came across him at the draft when Anthony and I were there, but he just wasn't the guy. Gerard Gallant's the guy. His team's going in the right direction. They've got a good coach. Jaromir Jagr came out and gave his word. So, fans, be excited. I think once this team starts winning, you're really going to change your tune about Gerard Gallant sooner than later.
I got to agree with that because, again, I was a believer in David Quinn. And as this season went on, I lost my faith greatly. And it was just getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And you were trumpeting Gerard Gallant, saying he was out there, and I was right on board with that the entire time. I'm not sure if there's another coach that really I want to even look at.
Who? I just want to know who, because these people that are saying that they're not excited are just talking about other guys. Who?
Babcock, maybe. But, I mean, again, that's another one. I mean, you talk about now, again, I think Babcock, using him as an example, Babcock went to the Stanley Cup Finals with the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim, not the Anaheim Ducks. That was when they were still the Disney Ducks. Then he goes to Detroit, gets 2 Stanley Cup Finals appearances, and wins one. And they lost to the up-and-coming Penguins. And, I mean, he didn't do well in Toronto, and he's got some baggage right now because, oh, no, he said – what's the problem with Babcock again? It was the way he treated his players or something?
Yeah, there's some talk about that. There's some. I think it was Holmstrom or Franzen came out after he got fired from Toronto and said some of the stuff that he treated them, and then there were some things in Toronto how he made Mitch Marner publicly make a list of I forget exactly what it was, publicly make a list of players who he thought weren't performing well or giving an effort in front of other players, stuff like that. That's came up since he got fired, but.
I don't know what the exercise in that is supposed to be, but again, people think coaches are supposed to just give them cookies and orange slices and just say, "Oh, everything's going to be great." No, coaches are going to coach. You're sometimes you have to do it by yelling at somebody. Sometimes you do it with a tender hand. So again,
Eden today.
No, he'd be great for every single talk show, because one of my favorite exchanges from Mike Keenan is Glenn Healy walked in and he looks at Glenn Healy and goes, "What's the difference between me and Al Arbor?" And Glenn Healy says, 4 Stanley Cups, and he says, "Get out." That was it.
Or the infamous Alexander McGillney one where Keenan's yelling at him and Alexander McGillney goes, "Do you see what it took for me to defect over from Russia? You think I'm scared of you?" Oh, man.
I mean, the other one is, but then again, you're not going to have moments like, you are going to have moments like, sometimes you have to teach them in other ways. Like Alexei Kovalev stayed out for too long, and Keenan just kept waving him back on the ice to go, "You want more ice time? You're on." And he left him on the ice for minutes. I think he left them on for 7 minutes. I think that's what the story was, if I remember that one correctly. Anthony, your thought on the Gerard Gallant era starting?
So, I mean, I kind of touched on it when we talked about when we had the segment on him earlier. I think it's a great hire for the Rangers. He was the right hire. They didn't get too cute and try to go outside the box. They brought in a guy that's a proven winner. He brought the Knights to the finals. He had some success in Florida. He's a no-nonsense guy, but he's also fair, and he gets the most out of his players. So the only way I would have said go with someone else was if Brindamore became available, and the Rangers couldn't take that risk because he still hasn't re-signed with Carolina, but it looks like he's going to be there still. And if they gambled and waited, let's say they did that, and then Seattle or Columbus made Gallant an offer that was really good, and Gallant didn't want to wait around anymore. And who are you going to go with at that point? Were you just going to scramble and hire Rick Tocchet, or were you going to have to go someone else aside from that? So they made the right decision. He's the right man for the job. I think he's gonna, like I said, he's gonna make the Rangers a better team right off the bat. And the Rangers should, like I said, they should contend for a playoff spot next year, just because of his additional loan. So. We'll see what happens.
And then I got one there.
One little quick tidbit on Brindamore. The word is that if Brindamore leaves Carolina, is that he's going to reunite with Francis in Seattle. So make of it what you will.
Yeah. That would be interesting. My question was going to be, with the coaching jobs that are out there right now, would there be coaches that put the Rangers at number 1, and would they have held out until that job was filled? I actually think. I mean, I was going to say, I actually think that if the Rangers held on to Quinn, there would be some coaches that would play the waiting game a little bit, and wait for him to be fired mid-season, which he ended up being fired in the offseason, because the Rangers' job is setting up to be one of the best jobs in the league if Jim Dolan goes back to focusing on basketball. This is a premier job. You want this job, and with everything that's going on with them right now, they could be something special, but they need that coach that's going to make them special. Anthony, what were you going to say real quick?
You said like big coaches waiting and thinking of the Rangers a premier job, and I think obviously it's New York, it's a big market, so absolutely. But then again, everyone's different. There are people that have different preferences. Maybe some coaches don't like a big city, like Daryl Sutter in Calgary. Like, that guy's a farm boy. The only reason why he came back was because it was Calgary, and that's the only place he was going to coach. So certain people have different preferences. So, I mean, yeah, you could have the Rangers a good young core, and it's New York, but some people just prefer other places. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, what's that? Zach Greinke. One of the reasons he never came to New York was because he had like anxiety, and he was like a small city guy. So like, individuals have different preferences on where they want to live and play, etc. So yeah, there could be coaches like Gallant that obviously put the Rangers up top, and there could be coaches for other reasons that maybe for other places. So really, it's really all preference.
One small thing, it's funny you mentioned Greinke, who ended up going and pitching in Los Angeles, which is like the second.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, twice. He did it with the Angels and with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I was going to save this question that's in the comments from Sean for before we sign off. But what guys do you think the Rangers should charge? What guys do you think the Rangers should target in free agency to toughen up the lineup?
Yeah, I've definitely addressed this in the previous episode. And I'll say 4 names again right off the top of my head: Casey Cizikas, Sean Morale, Matt Nieto, and Matt Calvert. And
Leave my Zeker alone. Leave my Zeker alone.
You might not have a choice, buddy. You might not have a damn choice.
And technically the Angels are in Anaheim, but they're also the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, or whatever the hell they call them now.
I don't understand that one still at all. But yeah, like I said, those 4 names are 4 guys that I would think of off the top of my head. You want to add another one, and I don't know if they'll be able to keep, because they're going to have a bit of a cap crunch too. Tampa Bay with either Blake Coleman or Barclay Goodrow. I think both of those guys would look real good in a Ranger lineup.
I think Blake Coleman's going to ask for a lot more money than what we think that he's going to be asking for. Barclay Goodrow, on the other hand, might not. So
I think Filip Deneau would be a good third line center for the Rangers.
And I think that's it.
Too much. He turned down, I think, a 6-year, $30 million deal from Montreal. So he's gonna ask too much money. I don't think he's gonna get that or more. I think that he might not get what he's looking for because of the flat cap. But Coleman, I think, could get $3+ million. I don't know if the Rangers want to go all that high for a guy like that. So it might be tough.
All right. So yeah, and I gotta see more guys in the lineup. And again, I would love to know, but again, if you're asking for that much money, no. Jordan Martin game is a good one too.
Real quick there, before you close out that, he turned that money down, but he could either be an idiot, you want unrealistic, or sometimes players turn down good deals because that's their way of saying that they want to move on. Maybe he's turning it down because he just would prefer to leave Montreal and wants to play somewhere else. So
maybe.
That's another viable.
French Canadian guy doesn't want to play for the Montreal Canadiens.
Listen, you never know. I'm just saying it's a fair deal. So when you think about why in the world would you turn that down, your mind goes to, okay, well, why is he turning that down? So just saying.
Filk, finish your thought.
For how many years was Vinny Lecavalier rumored to Montreal, and that never happened?
True.
He was rumored for there for, I would say, at least half a decade, and that never happened. But Anthony does have a point. You might not want to play there, but I don't know. I just think he might also be asking for money because he's gotten some legitimate Selke recognition. He is one of the better, defensive centers in the league. He had that 50-point season a couple of years back, but I mean, the offense kind of gone downhill for him since. So I don't know. I mean, if they don't get Jack Eichel, I would say maybe that's a fit, but I don't know if they want to spend that much money for a bottom six player. I wouldn't personally.
And again, I wouldn't. $5 million, I'd hesitate before doing that.
Yeah.
You know that there's one making 6 across the river and doing pretty well.
Oh, he's making 5.
Oh, Pajot?
Yeah.
It's 6.
6-year dollar deal.
All right. So it was a 6-year deal he signed?
Yeah, 6 years.
I put the numbers in my head?
Yep.
Anyway, by the way, thanks for the question. So the Gerard Gallant era begins once again. So this is different from our conversation in our previous video about this. But what do you think? How the Rangers going to change? Who should they target in free agency? Put all your comments down below. Leave us a like, share, and subscribe. To the next editorial, Anthony, do you got one?
Yep.
All right. Well, first, let's remember to actually take off that ticker. I always remember like midway through because I edit it anyway. Here we go. Welcome to the Rock.
They just do what they always do.
Why is he putting Leo Komarov on the first line? Like,
Welcome to the Rock.
All right.
All right. So, as you know, this is the second consecutive year the Islanders are playing the Lightning in the semifinal, or normally conference finals, as it's normally called. And it's the first time it's happened since 2013 and 2014 when the Blackhawks and the Kings went head-to-head. And typically, it's hard to, in a rematch, it's hard for the team that won the previous year to win again. So hopefully that luck's on the Islanders' side. But it brings me to the point of you never know when you're going to get back to this point. And then people talk about, often in sports, your windows. So with the Islanders cap situation, talking about today, let's talk about their window and the varying opinions on it. So as we all know, they're not in a great cap situation this offseason. However, Big Lou is going to have a hard time keeping the team together. With that said, regardless of what happens, you have Matthew Barzal, who's 23 years old. You have Anthony Beuvillier, a very young player. Oliver Wahlstrom, who, broke out at the end of the year, and actually before he got hurt in the playoffs, has, 3 points in 5 games. He's young. He's going to be there for a long time. Noah Dobson, young, defenseman. Ilya Sorokin, their future in goal, young. So regardless of what happens here with the Islanders, they still have a lot of their upper echelon talent that are still in their prime years. In some cases, even before your prime, like Barzal's 23, you could say 25, 26 when you're really into your prime. And then you have the second tier younger veterans like Brock Nelson, still going to be good for quite some time. So they have, in my personal opinion, their window's still open for a decent amount of years. It's more so the problem is keeping the team together with the cap situation. As we all know, Adam Pelech, a restricted free agent, he's going to be due a hefty raise. Ryan Pullock, who provides more offensively, got $5 million. I don't know if Pelech is going to get that. He might. I'm not sure. Anthony Beuvillier is doing a contract. You could probably say around $4.5 million for him. Ilya Sorokin is a restricted free agent, and those are the big ones. UFA, Casey Cizikas, who we discussed before, the Islanders want to keep him. It may be a little hard, I know. He was making $3.35 on his expiring contract. The good thing is there are a lot of teams that are cap-strapped. How many teams are going to shell out even more than that and give him a raise in this climate? I don't know how many teams are going to do that. So if he's going to accept the same amount that he's making now, and he truly loves New York with his buddies Martin and Clutterbuck, hopefully he can re-sign and have a handshake agreement, which Matt Martin had with Lou last year, and wait until everything's sorted out before he signs. So that's what we hope happens. I don't know how it's going to shake out, but I will say is Lou has a lot of work to do, and to get all those guys signed, and that's not even mentioning Kyle Palmieri has been fantastic for them in the playoffs. I'm sure they want to keep him. I don't know how they would do that at this point. It would be really, really hard. And he's a local guy, so I'm sure he would want to stay if they can make it work. But in my opinion, here's what has to happen. Thomas Hickey, Leo Komarov. Hickey, $5 million left. Leo, $3 million left. Try to trade him. They got 1 year left. If not, buy him out. You don't save that full amount, but at least they save some. I think between the two of them, they would save like $3 million on the cap if they bought them out. Then Andrew Ladd hasn't played hockey in 2 years. I think this is setting up to him going on long-term injury reserve. I hope the guy hasn't played in 2 years. It's clearly he can't play anymore. Hopefully, Luke can find a way to put him on LTIR because that would help the Islanders a lot. The guy makes $5.5 million. That would be a godsend. And then lastly, Nick Leddy in expansion will probably be left unprotected because Scott Mayfield only makes 1.45 for the next 2 years, so that's a steal. And they value the contracts right now, so you easily protect him over Leddy. And hope Seattle takes Nick Leddy, and that frees up $5.5 million off the cap as well. So that's what needs to happen for the Islanders to have this sorted all out. Now, last year I referenced they traded Devon Toews because they needed to sacrifice someone. He was a restricted free agent. Lou felt that maybe he might make too much, and he made the deal. And then, as we all know, they put Johnny Boychuk because he had that career-ending injury, put him on LTIR, which helped. So they're going to be in the same situation again this offseason. I do have a lot of faith in Lou that he can navigate it, but he's going to have a lot of work to do if he wants to keep this team together. He really is. So hopefully he can be creative, but we'll see.
Go ahead.
You know what? I think this team's going to take a step back. I just think that there's just too much obstacles for Lou this time around. He got lucky with the Boychuk situation that you don't ever want to see someone's career end like that, but that absolutely helped. It really did.
Yeah, it did.
I don't know if Nick Leddy gets claimed by them. I mean, it's possible, but let me ask you this. They're going to have to leave a forward like Jordan Eberle or Josh Bailey exposed, I would say. And I think Seattle would rather take one of those two than Nick Leddy. I would agree, especially if it's Eberle. I think it would be stupid to leave Eberle exposed. I would rather leave Bailey. You know they're not going to leave Nelson because, hi, I was wrong on Brock Nelson. Hi, I'm here. I'm still here. But yeah, I wouldn't leave Brock Nelson exposed because that he's become a decent two-way center, I would say, at the very least. But you got to be a fool to leave Eberle exposed. I would trade him before I expose him. Bailey, good player, but I don't want to say he's a dime a dozen because he's not, but it's hard. It's easier to find someone like Josh Bailey than it is to find a Jordan Eberle. And I think you would agree with me on that. So I just think there are too many obstacles for this team. They're going to be a competitive team. They're not going to the cellar. I mean, they're not going away. I don't know if I see them as a cup threat like they are right now. And Kyle Palmieri, you would obviously love to re-sign him with what he's done in the playoffs. He's played great for them. But I don't see that happening. If someone can give me a real good, foolproof way of how to keep him, okay, I'm open to discussing that. But I don't see one. I just don't. Like, where are you getting the cap space from? You have so many of these other issues. And you're talking about, what Matt Martin did last year and waiting to sort out the cap situation. How Palmieri really that attached to the point where he's going to pass up on possible better offers to see that happen? Maybe he is. Maybe he wants to stay local. But if he wants money,
probably not.
Yeah, listen. I'm not telling you that Kyle Palmieri, he's Chris Kreider's age. They were the same draft, 2009. So this is his last real payday, his last real chance at one, unless he takes a short-term deal, takes a 1-year prove-it type deal, which I don't know what he would do. That's kind of risky at this point, especially in a flat cap, especially when they're saying you still might have another 2-3 years at least at flat cap. So I don't know. I just don't see how he stays. I think they're I think they're going to still be a competitive team. They're still going to be a playoff team. They might take a step back until guys like Wahlstrom develops into a legitimate 30-goal scorer, or Dobson develops into a legitimate top pairing defenseman. So it might be a little bit of a regression. You might have to take 2 steps back, but you could eventually take 3 steps forward.
Kind of like Paul Abdul. But actually that was the one critique about Lou going back to Toronto and his end of the days with the Devils, is that he didn't manage the cap situations that well. I think he's done a good job with the Islanders, making him competitive, keeping him competitive. I think Palmieri is the guy that I look at and go, he's not staying. There's no way. There's just no way. He's going to be getting a lot of offers elsewhere. Boston was looking at him. Taylor Hall says he might want to stay and score 2 goals there as well. So it's just it's a good question to ask about the Islanders window. So what do you think? Do the Islanders window open? And how's Lou managing the situation? Who do you not want to lose to Seattle? Leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. All right. And now for On the Mark, which, by the way, one of our comments is what inspired this. This prediction that's right up here.
Being single most of my life.
Or just yell at Larry Brooks like every other New York Ranger. All right. Well, one of the guys. Oh, first off, by the way, we got a guy looking at us from Greece. All right.
Yeah.
Now
nice.
we're going global with this baby.
Yeah, baby.
All right.
Thank you, Dave.
One of our new followers that I was briefly talking to this week, Blueshirts, said, hey, don't know if you guys covered this already, but do you think the Rangers name a captain this year? And if so, who should they give the seat to? Ooh. And you know what? That really is the topic of my editorial, because the one thing the New York Rangers have done is change leadership over this year. They changed around the president, John Davidson, and the GM. Both of them are Chris Drury right now. They have changed around their head coach from David Quinn to a competent one like Gerard Gallant. I would say all offense intended to David Quinn when I keep saying that. But this team hasn't had a captain since they traded away Ryan McDonough. And just stop. Just every team gets a captain. This isn't baseball where you can go decades without a captain, because it's not really all that important. Just name somebody. And if he moves on or it gets traded, fine. I mean, we have a debate about who it's going to be. Could go with guy with tenure like Chris Kreider. You can go with Mika Zibanejad. You can go with Artemi Panarin. But sooner or later, a team has to have a captain. At least somebody, they probably already do, and you just haven't acknowledged it yet. Somebody the players go to, somebody that at least, or can be the rah-rah guy in the room. The Rangers had 3 different captains in the 90s, and the guys that were in the room, whether it was Wayne Gretzky, who to the later stages led by example, it was calm, even though Brian Leetch was a captain who also led by example. Messier was that rah-rah guy in the room, and everybody, when Messier left, unfortunately, they all pointed over and said, well, if it's not Leetch, it should be Adam Graves. No, but Brian Leetch was the captain, and he was going to be the captain. But it still didn't mean Adam Graves wasn't a leader either. Sometimes the C is a cosmetic thing. Sometimes the C is a team thing. Like, it's a bunch of guys that are the C. It's not just one guy. So if Kreider is the captain, let's say it's him, that doesn't mean Zibanejad or Panarin aren't valuable to the team. Or just stop. We need a captain on this team. It's been 3 years, and I mean that was right after I got dumped last. So it's just it's been too long for me also to be single. On the other hand, I have no idea that'll be going on forever. I mean, it's just the Rangers. Come on, just name a captain. Anders Lee was named the captain like that after John Tavares left. and he's proved his worth. And by the way, I said before, this is the series that the Islanders are going to miss Anders Lee. So let's get a captain. And I would go with Kreider. John wouldn't, so I'm going to get his thoughts.
Yeah, I don't like what I see from Chris Kreider. It just too often, very, very slap it on Gallant. Yeah, that would be an interesting thing. But he's too inconsistent, too just too streaky. It just game to game, you just don't get the efforts from him. Mika Zibanejad, I like him, but he seems to have a habit of disappearing in big spots. Against the Islanders later on in the year, I think Adam Fox will get a letter. I think he will. I think it's going to happen sooner than later. Jacob Trouba is a name that people have talked about. I'm not sure if I like that. I also think that he could be gone in a few years when that no movement clause is up, because he's going to make too much against the cap for what he will be, especially at that point. Sean,
Yes.
you might be right. This could be it could end up being a player that's not on the team at this point. Could they trade for Jack Eichel and make Jack Eichel the captain? I don't know if I see that, but it could be the case for all we know. I personally, I want to see Alexis Lafreniere get it one day. I think that he's a leader. He was a captain for Rimouski. He was a captain on the World Junior team. Yeah, kid's got leadership qualities at the wazoo, and he brings it. He really does. You're going to see this. You're going to see him get more confidence. He's going to go out there and he's going to play without having to worry about being stapled to the bench because of a better coach. And I think he's going to really take the reins. So I want to see Alexis Lafreniere as a captain one day.
Which was actually just what he was just mentioning.
Hey, I like that guy. Whoever blue shirt is, I like you. Man.
Yeah. Anthony, what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
So I agree with a lot of what Filk said. I don't think Kreider's captain material. I even don't think Zibanejad is really a captain material either. I personally think the captain isn't on the roster right now, or it's eventually Adam Fox. I think he strikes me as someone that could be a captain of this team one day. But everybody else, I don't know. If they don't, no one really pops off the page to me and really screams it to me like, oh, he's captain material. Other than Fox, I think Fox is my candidate. I could see Lafreniere too. He's still a little young, but I say Fox, or like I said, if they acquire someone through a trade, that could be their captain one day. But I do agree with Marc. I think it's been a little too long without a captain. Eventually, push needs to come to shove, and you need to name a captain. I know with Trotz, he didn't name Lee captain until actually the first night of the season, because originally he said that he wasn't sure if he was going to name captain right away. He was going to wait to feel out the room and really get to know the guys. But then he said once he got there and saw how Lee interacted, the decision was simple for him. So maybe Gallant doesn't say. Maybe Gallant comes along and he sees something in someone that we don't, and it just clicks with him, and he's like, "That guy'll be the captain." Maybe someone steps up and really shows their true leadership under a new coach. So that's possible too. But right now, if I just had to pick one, I would lean towards Fox over anybody.
Oh, bingo! Abso-friggin-lutely. Hit it on the head of the nail.
I mean, I think, and by the way, we are going global. We got Greece and Australia covered so far. We got 3 countries we could think of so far. I mean, we thought we were in different time zones last week with California and Arizona the last 2 weeks, but this is thank you, boys. This is why we do this.
Progress.
I gotta look at the Alexis Lafreniere situation and say he's an eventual captain. I actually think he's going to be. Most number 1 picks usually end up being the captain anyway. But it's
Brian Callahan says hello.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Oh, nice. ATR. Actually, there we go. Even though we're going to be renaming the podcast itself, since there's a lot of Islander chat on this, but still, the ATR Global Chatter. most number one picks end up becoming the captains anyway. But you know what? He's not in an anointed one situation. Not like a Connor McDavid, absolutely. Sidney Crosby right there. Nate McKinnon, as soon as I think the captain was actually Duchesne when he was there and before they moved on. So, oh, hey. And we got Toronto too. Four countries.
Oh, he's talking about a friend of mine that's from the area for a long time. So yeah, I'll definitely get him on this too, especially when we start expanding into more of the NHL like we're going to.
Yes. I mean, that's going to be for a different video to go over with. We're going to try to finish the season with ATR and have it ready before the draft. But finishing up on this, again, this could just be a placeholder. People forget, like, not all the time, the best player is the captain. It's just somebody that takes on all the responsibilities. Brooks Laich comes to mind. Brooks Laich was the captain for years in Washington.
Captain.
Oh, what was the other one?
Chris Clark was the captain of the Capitals before Ovechkin.
There you go.
So, but the only thing I don't want to see is I don't want to see somebody being put in a position, and Anthony, you're going to be very familiar with this. I don't want to see someone get Kenny Janssen. That would be bad.
Yeah. There are guys that you slap the C on them, they flourish. There's guys that slap the C on, and it's like just cement shoes.
Leach regressed. Janssen regressed.
Yeah. And, I mean, Brian Leach regressed. He was at like 70 points.
But he wasn't the same. But part of that also has to do with Messier leaving and that power play becoming worse because of it.
Yeah. Even though I believe they were number 2 the year that they left. But that's what you get when you get Brian Leach and Wayne Gretzky on the same power play unit together. Yeah. All right. So, we had a couple of comments in here, but what are your thoughts? Who do you think should be the New York Rangers captain? Should they have named a captain? I mean, they already got a new head coach. They already got a new GM. They got a new president. They should have another captain. Oh, hey, wait, before we close this out. Wild card? What about Ryan Lindgren?
That's a good one, Sean. I've actually spoken about that in the past on my own social media accounts. I tell you right now, Ryan Lindgren is Dan Girardi on steroids. That's what he's someone who's an absolute warrior. You saw it without Lindgren. They definitely suffered a bit. I honestly, I would put it on Lindgren before anybody else if I'm going to give it to a placeholder. So Lindgren would be definitely a guy. He embodies the spirit of a warrior. I mean, if I'm going to run through a wall, if there's going to be one player on that team that's going to get me to absolutely run through a wall with no padding on, it's Ryan Lindgren. That guy, if he doesn't have a bruise or a cut on his face, you think there's something wrong with the guy. Like that should tell you all you need to know about Ryan Lindgren and his leadership abilities and what he could do. And yeah, Blue Shirt, he's absolutely a beast. He's a warrior. I know a lot of people kind of crapped on Girardi towards the end. I mean, I did too. He was bad for a while. But Lindgren is literally the embodiment of what we want our team to play like. So yeah, I would say Ryan Lindgren would be definitely a good one. And yeah, it is hard to find footage of a game where he doesn't have a cut or he's busted over, something like that. So
it's like that old expression about Len Dykstra. It's not an official Mets game unless his jersey was dirty.
Yep.
But yeah, so I mean, who do you think is going to be or should be the Rangers captain? Leave a like down below. Put it in the comments down below. We got some comments going on right now, and this is why we do this, guys. This is why we keep coming back every single week.
We love hockey.
Yes. And we got so much more to go with. Even though we have no more scripted stuff, if anybody's got a question, we'll throw some out right now. We'll hang out for another 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Dean was mentioning exactly what you said before, by the way, Anthony, that the Eichel talks have been heating up greatly.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I wonder he listed Philly. I wonder if Philly would offer Joel Farabee as part of a package for Eichel.
You know what's going to
That's a
not move the needle?
That's a good young player. I mean, he scored last year, decent amount. You know,
I guess move Giroux.
You know what's not going to move the needle? Sorry, Phil, go to yours. What are you saying?
I guess you move Giroux to the wing permanently at that point, because I mean, if you're still thinking of Giroux as a center, then you have three centers like that. I would not want to move Farabee if I'm them. Yes, Justin, he's one of very less than a handful of the tough guys on that team. But going back to Eichel and Philly, I don't know if they'd give up Farabee. Could they move Konechny?
I was about to say Konechny. But by the way, the guy that doesn't move the needle is Patrick. Nolan Patrick ain't going nowhere. So
no.
I mean,
his value is
right, and you kind of hope the kid's. You kind of hope the kid's going to be okay, because I know he's had health issues.
I was just going to say that too. Like you're going to move out one injury riddled guy for a guy who's just as, if not more, injury riddled.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make sense to me.
You know what could be the trump card here is Anaheim's mentioned it. If Anaheim puts Zegras on the table, I think that could be it for Buffalo.
Yeah,
I don't
think they're putting Zegras on the table. No way.
I tell you right now, there are two untouchables on that team: Zegras and Drysdale.
Drysdale,
Anaheim, but they will not move either of those two guys, and I don't blame them one bit.
Here's a good question coming back from our guy in Greece. How about the scenario? Gerard Gallant trading for Barkov and naming him captain. I would love.
The problem with that is Barkov's got one. His contract ends at the end of this coming year.
He's going to cost less.
So the problem is, I don't know if Florida just made the playoffs. They were finished better than Tampa in the standings. I don't know if they would be willing to trade Barkov right now. I don't see why they would trade him.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Unless he pulled the Seth Jones and tells them this offseason, look, I'm not re-signing with you guys, then maybe. But anything short of that, I think they would be stupid to trade him right now.
Yeah, he's got a modified no-move clause for next year. And here's the other thing. There's an expression that used to be said for a while. Players like playing in Arizona, but not for the Coyotes. So the players like living in Arizona, not necessarily playing for the Coyotes. I think he actually probably would enjoy still being in Florida, where he is. Obviously, it's no state income tax, so you don't want to have your place. But again, Barkov's been rumored to the Rangers for years, and now that you got the pieces in place and this team has got potential, now you would leave.
You know what? I would love Barkov. I'd actually like him more than Eichel, to tell you the truth. I think
100%.
Is one of the, I would say, one of the three most complete players in the entire NHL. But I just don't see it. They have all the pieces falling into place.
Yeah.
If they could get rid of Bobrovsky's contract somehow, they have Spencer Knight, who's going to be really good. He showed you that in the playoffs against Tampa. He was really good against them. They have Anton Lundell. They finally have that number 2 center behind him. But listen, guys, I don't blame you, both of you, Sean, Blueshirt. I don't blame you guys for not being interested with Eichel with the injuries and whatnot. But I don't know if there's a better option that's going to be available than Eichel. And I don't know if I could pass him up, considering that this team needs considerable center depth. And I don't know if I want to give that next big deal to Mika Zibanejad. I really don't. I'm not sure of it right now.
I think people are putting too much concern into what they would go for Eichel. His price tag is at an all-time low, and you know what? Yeah, I said that before. Yeah, but it's pennies on the dollar.
They're still not going to give him up for nothing, though. They're just not. They're not. They're definitely going to get a first round. They're definitely going to get a first round pick because LeBron referenced one of the reasons why trading him before the draft pretty soon is because they want that second top 10 pick. So they want another first. So you're definitely going to get a first round pick, and you're going to have to give up someone that hurts. And look, I'm not talking Lafreniere, but hurts Lundqvist. Lundqvist will hurt you guys. You at least got to give up something. You can't expect to get Eichel for first and Schneider. You know what I'm saying? You have to give up at least somebody a little bit. There's no way around it.
I still wonder if the team on the market that we don't even realize it's there.
You know what? And that's something that I've mentioned previously on here, and I've mentioned it on social media as well, is that Buffalo's going to want to make that pick with their trade, with that trade. That's why I saw this deal happening before the draft, is because they want their own guy. Let's face it. If you're a general manager and you have a pending trade that's on the deal, that's on the rise, I should say, would you want to make your own pick, or would you want to take a prospect for another team from another general manager that you're not really sure of? You don't really know that well. I personally, if I'm a GM, I want to make that pick. I want that to be my pick. Going back to the previous question. Oh, Dave, you've seen Statboy Steven mention that trade before. Strome, Chytil, Robertson in the first. That might be the best deal that they might end up getting. But, Dean, to answer your question, Eichel supposedly would be ready for the start of the season. Supposedly. I'm not sure of how much he'd been out for. But I do agree, without retention, it's tough. But you got to remember, he has 5 years and $50 million left. So he's got a $10 million AAV, and he's got 5 years. Buffalo's going to retain. The asking price is going to go up, and it's going to go up by a bit because it's going to be a lot to ask to retain for 5 years. You want them to retain for a year? Okay, fine, understandable. They could pull that off. It's easy. It's off at the end of the next year. It's off the books to retain. But 5 years.
That's
You know what I wonder here? Now I'm thinking about it. If Buffalo's not going to get like a package of really good futures, like picks and prospects, they're not going to get the guy. I wonder if they turn their attention to making like a hockey trade with Eichel, where I'm just going to use an example. Like they trade Eichel to Vancouver for like Brock Besser. If they can't get that young player they really want, like that Byfield or that Kakko, if they go and make that type of trade, like a Jones, like a Hall for Larson type of thing, where they trade Eichel for another young similar player. That's why I mentioned Brock Besser, something along those lines.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get the point, and I agree with you. Sean, I'm going to address your question in a second, or your statement, I should say, in a second. But going back to that, how is it that that's going to work, though? Because you got to remember, Buffalo's in shambles right now. Who wants to play? What established veteran is going to want to play for them? And that goes for any deal that they take. Buchnevich goes there. But Buchnevich, at least, he's under team control. He's a restricted free agent, and he's got to play for another deal. So he's not going to sit out. He's going to need to play for them. Ryan Strome is another one. He's got a year left on his deal. You send him there to offset the cap, then he needs to play for a deal. So, I mean, a guy like Besser, he would get money anywhere. And if he sat out, someone would snap him up like that. So I couldn't see him staying in Buffalo. That's just me. I get you're trying to just give an example, but I just like, even if you said someone like Jones or maybe someone else like Monahan, you think Monahan's going to stay in Buffalo? I don't see it.
It's going to have to be guys that they're going to be just as much of reclamation project.
They'd have to have term left.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, just to say, sort of like, I hope this comparison's going to work. Buffalo is the organization that is sort of a reclamation project, and Patrick Laine is the player that's the example of that. Because where the hell does he end up? He's going to want money. He can score goals, and he's been completely lost the last year, maybe year and a half, as far as being a player. By the way, I know you want to get back to the Barkov thing real quick, John.
He would be the perfect captain in New York. I just, like I said, I don't know if I see them letting him go. I think the one chance the Rangers have at him is if he hits free agency. But you know what? You're going to have to offer, I would say, an upwards of $10 million for him. Maybe in the flat cap it keeps him at 10 or under, but you're going near double digits for Barkov, if not more.
To answer this question, Blue Shirt, yes, it is going to be a full season next year.
Back
question,
yeah,
they're trying to reset back to normal. Have we got confirmation that they're going to China?
It looks like it. It
seems that way, yeah.
There's no official word yet, but the word is that the talks are progressing towards them going. So I'm going to say yes as of right now.
Barkov would cost you a lot. You're right, and yes, but it would cost you in dollars, not in player value. And if I'm the Florida Panthers, I don't want to give up Barkov. I want to convince him to stay.
Yeah, absolutely.
You finally got the pieces around you that could eventually be a cup winner. Why would they want to give him up right now?
No, they're not going to.
It wouldn't make any sense to. It would be asinine.
It would.
Right, and they just got the team they finally have been waiting for since. Oh wait, let me just check something. Since Gerard Gallant left, so Bob Bugner didn't do the job. You're surprised that he didn't move the needle. So it's just like maybe you shouldn't have left Gerard Gallant on the side of the road. One of the most disrespectful firings I think ever. Didn't they take him off the team bus?
Yeah, it was bad. You know, Buffalo's probably going to trade Sam Reinhart too. This offseason.
Yeah, that could be another one. So, Buffalo's going to have to tear it down, and it's very unfortunate. To answer that,
they'll go to China right now for an exhibition. Money.
He's not. I don't think not exhibition. The Olympics.
The Olympics. Yeah,
it's basically an exhibition.
He's calling it an exhibition.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Yeah, it's money. It's that's what it's come down to. That's what it came down to in the last.
And the players want to play. The players like representing their countries in the Olympics.
And some of them always have to represent their countries. The Russian players are always pressured to play internationally.
Yeah.
The Canadian players always have to represent their countries. They rarely say no.
Side note, since you brought it up, what happens with Artemi Panarin?
Artemi Panarin ain't going back to Russia. And you know something? I say, oh, that's right.
Panarin.
Well, first off, there's that right there. But they have preseason games that they're going to be having in China next year, right?
I thought so, yeah.
Oh.
So when we answered that question, it was in reference to the Olympics. I don't think they're going to exhibition games for China next year. I think they said they're not.
I'm gonna double check that as you guys discuss that, but that's also the reason why.
I don't think they are. I think the Olympics, it seems to be trending that way, but I don't think they're doing the whole global puck drop thing. I don't think they're doing that this kind of season.
I don't know if I would do that with. I mean, I know everything's going back to normal. I know Cuomo just lifted mask mandates, but I think if I'm the NHL, I'd probably steer clear for a while of going overseas outside of the Olympics, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, it still says the NHL. Oh wait, no, sorry, this is past China games. But the NHL hopes to announce China preseason games very soon. So, no, I don't know. I think I would kind of. Here's the hard part about doing business with China. You're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You want money, and you want to object to the country's regimes, but that's you can't have both. And
I mean, I wasn't even trying to get political there. I was just talking about it from like a health perspective. I mean,
I got that. I'm also I have to point out the elephant in the room.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't have both. Once you go there, you're doing business with them. then you're going to be like the NBA. All it takes is Daryl Morey to say free Hong Kong, and the next thing you know, they're tearing down your billboards. So,
just a funny kind of outside of sports example, but I don't know if any of you heard about the controversy with John Cena.
I've heard that, and I have my take on that. But first, go ahead.
Yeah, well, basically, he called Taiwan a country, and it offended the people of China. So John Cena issued an apology to the people of China for labeling Taiwan as their own country. That's part of why I personally wouldn't get involved with it. I think there's just too much politically. I'm going to try to stay in the middle here because I really don't want to get into politics. I don't like.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get into politics with this one either.
But that's part of why I would steer clear of it.
To give you the take on the John Cena thing, if you watch, first up, by the way, for a it seemed like he memorized it in Mandarin.
Yeah, he did it.
His Mandarin was awesome.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. My take on that is he had a gun to his head. Not literally, of course. I'm saying in general, it was definitely Hollywood saying you're making this apology or you're not going to work again.
Yeah, I happy to agree.
Yeah, I mean, Vin Diesel is the one that wants the Fast 9 premiere in China, and same thing. It's the market. You got 1 billion people, 2 billion people over there, so it's. We're going to talk in circles on this. It's the benefits of doing business there. A lot of people overlook, and unfortunately, we know about the other parts. So that's the other thing. Anybody got any other questions out there for us?
Asking about the games in Europe. Yeah, it's basically the same thing. They've done it in China.
Awesome.
I don't know, but he did a previous movie with Jackie Chan. Get props. I'm not. I saw the movie that he did with Jackie Chan. I'm not sure of what you're referencing there, Sean. But I guess I don't know.
It backfired a lot because a lot of pundits were on his on his case. I guarantee to you that it's all executives. They all looked at him and said, "We have too much money invested in this movie to not have China involved." So they definitely were against him on that one.
Damned if you did.
I did have a question.
I'm gonna run in it because I got my ticket priority sign online to buy tickets for the Islanders playoff round. So I gotta there's
I see
there's 400 people in front of me. No, really, because I got season tickets at Belmont. Season ticket holders are the only ones that could buy tickets aside from the secondary market. So they send you an email with your time window of when you can log on to buy the tickets. So my time was 3:00, so I'm signing on now. But I still got 400 people in front of me, so I got at least a couple more minutes. But this hypothetical to you guys: would you trade Lafreniere to Carolina for Sebastian Aho?
I might have to do that because of the fact that listen, Lafreniere could end up being I've said this before. I think his ceiling is somewhere between 85 and 100 points in a season. I think with the right players around him, the right talent, he could be closer to 100. I don't know if he'll necessarily hit it, but I think he's got that capability. Once the skating improves. Remember, Anthony, years ago, I told you on draft night when we went to the draft party in 2009 that I told you that John Tavares could be an elite player if he improved his skating?
Yeah, improved skating. Yeah.
That thing out Alexis Lafreniere. The skating's got to improve. I think it will. I think he's a better skater at that point than Tavares was, if you ask me. But I think if it improves, I think he's closer to that 100-point player because he makes everyone around him better. But I might have to make that trade for Aho because of extenuating circumstances. Because you can get a number 1 point per game center that plays good two-way hockey. Hard to find. That's
I like Aho a lot.
Yeah, less than $9 million a year.
Anthony, I don't know if you've seen my video feed, or actually he didn't. All right, he's gone. John, I have to make that trade too, and I think I might make it even faster than you. I have been talking and praising Sebastian Aho till no end. He was my pick for. Oh, we got Anthony back. Yeah. Anthony, I was starting to say, if you saw me agonizing over that question, because I was sitting there going, "Oh God, I don't want to make that," but I still. This is what I think about Sebastian Aho. I had him as my regular season MVP as the bold prediction going in, and I also have him as the playoff MVP for the team that's now eliminated. So that's how highly I think of Sebastian Aho. I would take him in a heartbeat. I really would.
Yeah.
I would agonize giving up Lafreniere.
I was going to say it's tough. It's a tough deal, but you got to think about it this way. Like I said before, you got Artemi Panarin for another 5 years. I would say you got to worry about him. Mika Zibanejad's under contract for another year. You got Adam Fox. You're going to have to sign him soon. You're going to have to sign Igor Shesterkin soon. This team obviously has a mantra to win sooner than later. Thankfully, that we'll probably never have to worry about that, or at least to the point, anytime soon, we'd have to worry about whether we would trade Sebastian Aho for Alexis Lafreniere or not.
Yeah.
The team's got to win sooner than later. They're obviously it's forward, no going backwards from here, obviously. But Girardi, yes, could be coming back as an assistant of some sort. Hank, no news on him.
Hank ain't done playing.
He says,
I don't think he's done. I don't think he's done playing either.
If he wants to come back as a backup, if they can trade Georgiev and get like a decent haul for him, I'd think about it.
Well, I wonder if Washington's going to give him another crack at it, being that he couldn't go. Maybe they re-sign him to another year if he's healthy.
Yeah,
they very well might.
What?
And Hank's a loyal guy like that. He might stay with him.
Yeah,
and Ovechkin's going to want him.
What?
Oh,
Ovechkin's going to want him there.
Ovechkin's he's not anywhere other than Washington or KHL, and I don't think he's going back home. Who do we lose in the expansion draft to Seattle?
Which, by the way, that's the wrong.
That's abbreviation. Yeah, it's St. Louis.
SCA would be
St. Louis
for Seattle, but
Washington signs him again, and that's a good question. Why have the Rangers announced Gallant yet? Wait,
they're very slow with doing those types of things, as we've seen. They didn't even officially announce Lori Palmieri's entry-level deal for some weird reason. No, all good, Dean. We just wanted to point that out.
I think the answer on that also is
Brett.
Okay, well, first let me address sometimes why those things happen. Sort of like on days that they don't announce during the World Series when players re-sign, when they were mad at A-Rod for opting out during the World Series. They don't want anything to distract from the playoffs. Sometimes they'll put things on the back burner. They'll wait till off days or when the series is over to officially announce. I don't know if that's what the Rangers are doing, but they might just do that right away. Getting back to this, the guy that I hope they don't take is Julien Gauthier, because with Gerard Gallant at the helm, okay, so we got somebody for him.
Yeah,
and the guy that obviously Brett Howden, but
I could live with losing.
Well, first off, they're probably gonna go the 7-3-1 route instead of just the 8, regardless of the position. That's what most teams are gonna do. So if you think about the seven forwards are gonna be protected. Obviously, you got Panarin, Zibanejad, Buchnevich.
No, Buchnevich, not unless he's moved. Kreider.
Yeah.
There's trade clauses. Again, if Ryan Strome is moved, there's another spot that opens up. Like they have a lot of guys that are exempt.
Well,
That's
because Kakko's exempt, right? So obviously
Kakko,
Lafreniere is
Lafreniere.
Durkin's exempt. Miller's
Chytil's not though. I think Chytil needs protection, so I'm assuming he'll be protected.
That's
assuming
why
they keep him.
I could see Chytil being in an Eichel deal, and I can see this Eichel deal happening sooner than later. Like LeBron's saying, I think the expansion draft definitely has an impact on it. It definitely. So,
and it would have to happen before the NHL draft and the expansion draft in order for that to all happen. So yeah. This is a great one. Wherever Quinn goes, that's where Howden goes.
Oh, well, Brett Howden, he's the best player in the NHL because he plays real hard. He plays with intensity. He plays with good intentions.
Oh, good intentions. Jesus Christ.
Plays a lot of good pace. He's the best player in the NHL right now. I take him over Connor McDavid. David Quinn said so. That's the bottom line.
Just a note on the expansion draft so people know. So if Seattle takes so for instance, most teams are going to leave their unrestricted free agents unprotected because they're not signed yet. But so I'm going to make an example. Like Casey Cizikas is an unrestricted free agent. If Seattle were to, because they have a window before the expansion draft actually to talk to restricted and unrestricted free agents. So if they were to talk to Cizikas and then sign him, that counts as their selection from the Islanders from the expansion draft. They don't then get to sign Cizikas and then go pick somebody else from the Islanders. It counts as their pick from that team. So that's why Seattle's likely not going to do that because then you're limiting yourself to that player. Whereas they have a chance to sign that guy anyway when the free agent period opens to everybody. So I don't think they're going to be selecting many unrestricted or restricted free agents from teams. I think they're going to select players who have term left.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I saw this and I was dying on this one.
I was going to address Dean's question Dean's statement because I liked what Dean said. If you go back to the previous one, but I love this. These comments are great. Keep these comment boys and girls. I mean, these are great. That the growth of Howden definitely shows how absolutely brutal that trade was. That was terrible. That was a trade, and I'm pretty sure Quinn and Howden definitely. There's some sort of like pictures, or I don't know what's going on right now with that, but there's something there. I've always said it. Like I don't get the love affair that he has with Howden. I don't see it.
By the way, as you brought up right here, famous coaching lines. Anthony, which one's worse?
Get a lot of good looks.
AV saying, or again, I'll bring up the other one that he's got right here, which is a lot of good intentions out there. Which one's worse? Is it to hear we didn't get a lot of good looks, the good intentions, or the battle level from Jack Capuano? I thought we battled with the battle level.
Yeah,
the battle we battled.
He used that all the time. Oh my god.
Yabba dabba do after the battle level one.
I mean,
that was so bad. I hated that guy so much. I jumped for joy and got fired. I've
been saying for the last 6 years, if I was Garth Snow, he wouldn't have made it to the podium after Game 7 versus the Capitals.
Well, that was Snow's downfall. He, like I said when we did this 2 weeks ago, when I said Snow gets a lot of credit for the roster, he just didn't fire. He just held on to Capuano way too long. Wait. You know where I completely soured on Capuano. I never really liked him, but oddly enough, back in 2016, when the Islanders played the Lightning in the second round, it was Game 3 at the Barclays Center. They were up, and Kucherov tied the game with like 40 seconds left, and then they lost in overtime. But he had Tavares, Oposo, and Nielsen out during that time. Why weren't Tavares and Nielsen, fine. Nielsen was always responsible defensively. Tavares and Oposo. Why is Casey Cizikas or Nikolai Kulemin or Cal Clutterbuck not on the ice at that point? The guy was a moron. He was a stooge. He was an idiot. I never forgave him for that because Islanders hold on. They're up 2-1 in that series. That changes the complexion of it. He was a
again fool. going back to what I was saying before. He had 11 shots in a game 7. There are soccer teams that get more than 11 shots.
Yeah,
and you're going to go home?
Inexcusable.
You're talking about what? Are you talking about the Washington series?
Yeah,
2014, 2015.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And AV is the gift that keeps giving. AV is like, ugh. Under Gallant, I think the youngsters will get their chance to make a huge impact on games. Quinn didn't do that. You're completely right. You're completely right, Ilya. It's just terrible that they just stifled everything that those kids could do, made them fear of making a mistake. How do you develop if you can't make mistakes? How do you learn from your mistakes? And I'll point to this. I know I've done it on here, and I'll point to it again. You don't develop your players defensively first. Steve Yzerman, Mike Modano, Joe Sakic, Matt Sundin, Peter Forsberg. These guys all developed offensively under their coaches. And then they were taught the defensive sides of the game. And Modano credits Hitchcock for everything, for his entire career, because he never would have won a cup without Hitchcock. So,
Dean, to answer your question, we always do it
around 12:30.
Yeah, around 12:30, 12. We sometimes try to go a little bit earlier in case we got prior commitments, or in case if one of us was on the West Coast and was a groomsman. Then we always try to do generally in that. I try to schedule it ahead of time. The guys have been fantastic of getting together, and this is why this station's growing, because we got people who are on in Greece, in Athens. You're with the gods, and you're talking to us.
I love the questions. And hey, listen, I know you guys commented on Ranger fans, but if you have any questions for the resident Islander expert, you can throw them my way. I'll be happy to answer them for you as well.
Well, again, there's going to be more news on other shows coming soon.
Yeah,
so.
I would love to see more Islander fans, more fans of other teams too across the NHL get involved with this. I mean, we're not just a Rangers podcast anymore. I mean, we want our primary focus to be the two New York teams, but we love talking hockey in general. And definitely keep coming back. I would say that this was the most fun I've had in an episode. I love when people get involved in this. Whatever voice what's on your mind, let us know. I'll answer this one too. I never understood the philosophy of hiring a first-time pro coach to teach a team of first-time pro players. Quinn, I agree. Couldn't agree more with that. It just, he was coaching them, and even Ryan Spooner said it. He was coaching them like they were in college. You can't do that with pros. You can't. It doesn't work, and it didn't work.
Yeah. Well, that's what the Flyers did with Hackstall when Hackstall came from the coaching ranks. The college ranks. They hired him, and he fell on his face there. Philly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and Montgomery in Dallas, although he left because he had personal issues, but that got him in hot water. But he was actually
so drunk he probably fell. Oh shit! All right. Well, hopefully this clip doesn't see. Oh my god! In future, I'm going to be canceled for this.
Oh yeah. Good job, Marc. Thanks.
All right. Oh no.
Oh no.
Because I was gonna make that joke, but I was gonna word it a little bit better than that. All right. But yeah, actually, you know what? It's been a pleasure to answer questions today, guys. And I gotta agree with Anthony that we're gonna have to sign off soon. If we can have more of these sessions where we're answering questions after this, that would be fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I would even open it up for just a video, maybe at some point in the week where we can just answer questions, where we're not literally doing, you know, videos. I would love to do that. I mean, guys, girls, guys, you're out there, fans.
If we have enough viewers for it, then yeah, we could
get enough viewers for it.
That is the idea. We are growing. We are growing towards our goal. Our next goal is going to be 500, and our next goal after that's going to be 1,000. And we're
up. Let's
just keep them coming, because after all, you know what? There's a lack of good sports shows on YouTube. There really is. You have to try to find some. Outkick is one of my favorites. So, yes, we're all based out of Long Island. I live in Hicksville. John live. Where are you living now? East Meadow? Wonka?
West Babylon.
Thank you. That's when I upgrade from this. That's why. And you're all the way out east, right?
Rocky Point, yeah. So Eastern Suffolk.
Yeah, you got quite a trek to go to the game. No wonder why you never want to stay for overtime anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a trek and a half. I usually, my brother used to live out there, and I also usually play golf out there too. Steve Dangle, I'm not as big on the hockey guy.
Steve Dangle, I enjoy watching his meltdowns. Like when the Leafs blow something or lose, he yells and screams.
Oh, he's fantastic with that. Leafs fan reaction. Although it broke my heart to watch the last one.
When they lost and they had him on afterwards talking about the loss, you could just see like they were like so scared to go over to Steve, and it was funny. And Steve had to like hold himself together, and then he finally just let loose. He's a fun one, but I'm a fan of Shannon, and he's got a format, and it works, and he's very knowledgeable about all teams. I tell you right now, you want a guy that watches every single team. He is good at that. So,
and so there's Nyquist is pretty good too, and Rob talks hockey.
I like Nyquist.
But that's the thing. That's we're trying to enter their market and be as good as them. So
I'm gonna head off to sign off. I gotta purchase these tickets and gotta do something. But my last thought is I'm just gonna leave with the yes, he is. Yeah, like the Islanders have to win tomorrow night. I know in the previous series they dropped the first game at the Coliseum, went down 2-1, and then won the next three. Tampa Bay is a different team than Pittsburgh and Boston. They need to take advantage of the home ice tomorrow. They need to beat Tampa Bay and really put some doubt. Really need to put some doubt in their minds in that locker room, thinking to themselves, you know, we have. I mean, I'm sure they think it already. They respect the Islanders, but a win tomorrow to put the Islanders up 2-1 with another game at the Coliseum, you know, that will show Tampa Bay that, you know, we're in this thing. So the Islanders really need to win tomorrow and go up 2-1. That's my thought, my opinion. They need.
I gotta agree with you. If they want to win the series, they have to go up 2-1.
You agree? But you want to piss off Anthony? Go Bolts!
Oh wait, hold on. Just to be equal opportunity. I'll bring back Hugh Jessamine for Filk.
Yeah.
They literally could have had anyone, and they would have got an all-star, a Hall of Famer. I did the numbers on this. They missed out on almost 7,000 total points.
Well, to be fair, the Islanders picked Robert Nilsson over Zach Parise in that draft.
At least he
played in the NHL.
Yeah,
not long, but yeah.
Hugh Jessamine got what? He get like 2 minutes in the NHL?
I think he got 2 games in the NHL, I think it was. So
I got to look at this. Their games played compared to one another. Robert Nilsson and Hugh Jessamine before I go.
But again, Robert Nilsson ended up at least still being a commodity that was turned into Ryan Smith, and the Islanders still got something in there too.
All right, so Robert Nilsson played 37 games in his NHL career.
I would take 30 over 1.
Huge busts. played in. Oh wow, he played in
Two.
With Nashville, I believe, right?
That makes it Florida.
That's right. Nashville, Florida. He's tied in games played for the New York Rangers with all three of us.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what the worst part about it is that they couldn't afford to take a home run swing at that time. The cupboard was bare at every position. Goaltending, they finally at that point started to realize what they had in Lundqvist. But outside of that, where were their prospects? Fedor Tutin? What else?
Yeah.
What else? You couldn't afford to do that, and you did it. And Zach Parise would have been perfect. Ryan Getzlaf would have been perfect. You needed a center. Lindros was on his way out. Why?
All right, gentlemen.
Anthony, take it easy. And actually, we're all going to sign off together right now. So thank you very much. Join us again next week around this time at 12:30 Eastern time in New York. And we're going to actually, you know what? I said Wednesday. It's actually going to be Tuesday next week. Definitely. Because that's the off day between the games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because the Islanders are back Wednesday night. And yeah. Literally anyone else besides he would not be named is the better option. I mean, all right. Well, actually, you know what? Because I made up the video for this, and this is one of the reasons why John became my co-host. My first two videos was the best draft picks in Rangers history and the worst draft picks. Those are the first two, and I had those set up. But so I'm gonna put that in the link when I separate this. But number two I think I had was Dylan McIlrath. But if you looked at the 2003 NHL draft, the Rangers could have taken, and I'm going to do all these off the top of my head, Zach Parise, Ryan Getzlaf, Corey Perry, Mike Richards. I already said Zach Parise. Missed it a couple in the first round. I'm just thinking of the first round. What was it? Brent Seabrook was right after him. Then the real hurt ones went in the second round. Shea Weber, Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah, you know what though? I can't get on them too much for those because those ended up being second round players. Like, yeah, they would have been better than Jessamine, obviously, but they weren't even projected first round. My problem is that Jessamine was only projected to be a first rounder by a few people. So you really must have had a hard-on for him to rate him that high.
It's just, when you think about it, either because the guy that went before him was Jeff Carter. So he would have been great for the Rangers.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Nikolai Zherdev was one of those guys that's in there, a good guy that's paid. Oh no, Sean, it's going to get worse because I mean, even though in the video, I basically tallied up everything, all the goals they missed out on, almost 3,700, and the points that they missed out on. But the seventh round alone, Dustin Byfuglien, Joe Pavelski, Brian Elliott, Yaroslav Halak. They also missed out on other goaltenders like Corey Crawford, Jimmy Howard, David Backes was in the second round. I mean, they had guys that they actually got in that draft. This is what the funny part is. There's guys that they got in that draft that weren't even some of the ones that were mentioned. Nikolai Zherdev, who ended up playing for them for one season, and it was only one season. Somebody tried to tell me one time, oh, the Rangers should have kept Nick Zherdev. Oh, really? Because Chris Drury had a broken hand. He had a game-winning goal in that playoff series. Nick Zherdev was totally healthy. He missed 6 open nets and had 0. That was the Fedor Tutin trade. Then you had Dan Fritchie. I know he ended up playing for the Rangers after that. Yeah, we don't try to speak about this one, but you know what?
2004, 2010.
Yeah, the 2010 draft is just as bad because you know it's the same thing because they looked at McIlrath and they went, "Oh, this guy's going to be big." The Rangers were so deep on prospects defensive prospects. They didn't need to do that. Now, granted, McIlrath would end up playing for the Rangers 6 years later, but and very briefly. But I was actually at the game when he scored his first NHL goal. But I mean, yeah, I kind of made up the list with a bunch of guys.
Think of the big four that they missed out on: Fowler, Schwartz, Tarasenko, and Kuznetsov. And they missed out on other guys in that draft too. And again, it was another home run swing, but it was a panic pick because they got shoved around by the big bad Flyers in that, double game set to end the season. And they wanted somebody that was gonna, but you don't take that type of guy in the first round. And I don't want to hear the bullshit about, oh, well, Dallas had him picked there. No, they did not. That was a smoke screen that you fell for. It's just like when, honestly, the Giants took Daniel Jones at 6 because they got cheated into a smoke screen. Hopefully Daniel Jones works out, but they got smoke screened, and they ended up with Jones. The Rangers took McIlrath, and it cost them big time.
These were the 10 guys that I listed, and honorable mention because the season just started at that point. Elias Anderson was the honorable mention.
Ugh.
But it was Lucien Dubois, Chris Kontos, Nicholas Sundstrom, who was still a good player for the Rangers, but I mean, they could have had other guys. Peter Ferraro, who never amounted to anything with the Rangers. Michael Stewart, who ended up going for Pat Verbeek. That was the only good news to mention from him. But you could have had Joe Sakic. Pavel Brendel and Jamie Lundmark grouped together. Jay Moore, not the Jay Moore that did the great Christopher Walken impression. No, not that Jay Moore. Bobby Sanguinetti is the one that we still haven't mentioned yet. And you could have had Claude Giroux. You could have had a whole lot of guys, but
after him.
Yeah, and I still think I have the number. I gotta get that number. Okay, hold on. It's the Rangers missed out on 12 Stanley Cups, a Hart Trophy, 3,699 goals. Sounds worse when you say it that way. 5,632 assists, 3 Selke trophies, a Rocket Richard trophy, 40 All-Star games, 1,019 wins on 140 shutouts, all for a guy that you got nothing from. So,
no, people were not talking about Sanguinetti as Buku Boom. They were talking about him as being one of the next great puck movers. He was a puck.
That's what Sanguinetti was. He was going to be like the next.
I'll never forget. Tortorella came in, and Tortorella put him through the ringer in the training camps, and he was just not in enough shape for it and ended up throwing up all over the place. And that was really the end of Bobby Sanguinetti as a New York Ranger.
And Tortorella never liked him, never said he was going to be anything special.
Nope.
So, you know what? John, field this one.
Oh, Evgeny Grachev, the guy who benefited from playing in Brampton with Cody Hodgson and Matt Duchene. Grachev was he was a guy who benefited from playing with 2 better players in junior. He was somebody that all Ranger fans were high on. I was high on him to a point, but I knew that there was going to be some sort of obstacles with him. He just was not a good skater. He had some good hands and a decent shot. Just he was never going to be able to play in the NHL because he couldn't skate. And he wasn't physical enough for his size to be a factor at the NHL level. So that's why he never really did anything, amounted to anything. He was just All right, so I'll start with this. My uncle actually played semi-pro hockey. My Uncle Brian, who's a big Ranger fan, and funny enough, you guys were talking about captaincy before. My uncle's been absolutely lobbying for them to name a captain for the last few years. He's been all over it every time I talk to him. Why don't they name a new captain? Why don't they name a new captain? Why don't they name a new captain? When are they going to name it? So my uncle actually used to go and play with the Islanders and other Rangers and stuff like that back in the early 80s down at the Long Beach Ice Arena because he was good enough to be able to skate with some of those guys to a point. But he was playing with playing against George McPhee, and he was skating stride for stride with him. And George McPhee hits their blue line and just makes a cut that leaves my uncle in the corner. And he said that it was unlike anything he'd ever seen before. George McPhee, fourth liner, fighter, left a really good skater just in the dust and just had him go off into a damn corner. That's the difference between guys who don't make it to that level and the guys that make it, is the cuts and the skating ability. It's everything. And Grachev did not have that. And that's why he didn't make it. It's exactly why he didn't make it.
It sucks because I know he was mentioned as like one of the future pieces that I remember when it was just Pierre Maguire and Mike Milbury were talking about in 2010 when the Rangers ended up missing the playoffs, and they said, "Oh yeah, they got Derek Stepan, they got Evgeny Grachev. The future looks bright." So that's why prospect is only a prospect. He's not going to pan out, but there are certain ones I go, I look at and I go, absolutely no way am I trading this or getting rid of this prospect. Because John, go ahead, riff for 1 second because I'm going to bring up the video since I was going to make a video about this anyway. Bring up the one I showed you guys the other day.
He was definitely a hyped prospect for a while because he, like I said, he was putting up good numbers in Brampton and junior. But Hodgson was there. He was on a line with Cody Hodgson, who was a top prospect for Vancouver, who also never panned out. Matt Duchene was in Brampton shortly after that. I think they caught like the tail end of each other there. So Grachev was just a guy who ended up being at the right place at the right time. I don't know if anybody's going to know this name, but Danny Rusan played with Sidney Crosby in, here we go. Guys, porn is usually not allowed on YouTube, but we managed to find a loophole. So here's some porn for all of you. Yeah, this is
when I talk about sometimes that there's prospects that you got to take a shot on, that you're guaranteed this guy is going to be the thing. But this is one of the ones Gordy Clark got right. Because I can't help but look at Nils Lundqvist.
Really, and that's the one move that Chris Drury's made so far that I can't say that I'm a fan of. Is canning Nick Bobrov. I met Nick Bobrov at the prospect meet and greet 2 years ago, right after they drafted Kakko. I don't like getting rid of him. I don't. I think it might end up being a bad move, but yes, yeah. And my uncle did score on Joe Villemure.
Okay.
Yeah, my uncle scored on Joe Villemure, and he didn't even know it was Joe Villemure at the time. And his friend actually went up to him. He's like, "You know who you just scored on?" And he was like, "Who?" And it's like, "That's Joe Villemure in the net." And my uncle, it blew his mind that he scored on Joe Villemure.
He scored on a Vezina Trophy winner.
Yeah, he had a chance at the NHL. He actually had a full ride to Northeastern, and he blew out his knee. It was blew out, I believe, on a dirty type of play where a guy kind of like clipped him. I'd have to ask him again, but I'm pretty sure that's how he's told me it was how the knee injury happened. But
going back to this, there's a couple of clips in this that I was watching it the other day, and I just went, "Oh."
The smarts, the skating, and Gordy Clark was right. Like, he's a deceptively elite skater. Like, his skating is up there. Like, I think that it might be his best asset, obviously, aside from that booming shot that he has. But
like right there, that shot's ridiculous.
Oh, get a clip of him just that one timer from the Panarin or Zibanejad spot. Just not that, but just
it's just
he's got a good wrist shot too. Good wrist shot, good snapshot. Listen, I would be very hesitant to give him up in a deal, but I mean, if it gets me Jack Eichel, I mean, I can't say that, you know.
This is one, by the way. I think it's going to come back to him at the left point.
Just boom,
bang.
Just bang in. It just tell me you're not thinking of like Steven Stamkos or Alexander Ovechkin or Patrick Laine there.
Again, the guy that I keep thinking about when I'm watching him play is Sergei Zubov. He's so confident with the puck.
Yeah,
he's got that cannon.
Fox reminds me of Zubov though too. It did not the best. Fox isn't the best skater, and Zubov wasn't the best skater. He was a good skater, a very good skater.
Yeah.
Everything with Zubov was cerebral. Nils Lundqvist, I think, has the ability to be a better skater than Fox, if you ask me.
Yeah, well, I agree with you on that because unfortunately in my mind, my comparison is Fox is Leach and Zubov is going to be Lundqvist. Where everybody else, that would actually fit. Lindgren to Buka Boom, and then that's one of them that you're just like, oh my goodness,
just absolutely powers that through. I mean, I will say this: be careful because the goaltenders at the NHL level are going to be better than these guys. So he might not be able to just rip them through some of these other guys that he's playing against. Not that I'm saying that all these goaltenders are bad or anything like that, but it's going to be a step up. But I still think his shot is more than good enough to beat NHL goaltender on a one-timer like that.
I think that's the one. That's the one that I just went. That is ridiculous. He's picking corners, John.
He's corners. You know what reminds me of with that is Subban. And Subban has one of the better slap shots in the entire NHL because he can absolutely label where he wants to put that thing.
And then you see him on a breakout like that, where he's coming up the ice in transition.
He can transition like that. He can come in backdoor and make that play and score the goal. You could put him in the office and that one timer. He can get those shots through from the point. He can move the puck so well. He can walk the line. He could do a lot of the things you really want to see from a defenseman, kind of like Adam Fox, except Adam Fox doesn't have that booming shot. Nils Lundqvist has that booming shot.
One of the parallels I'm going to give with you on Buffalo is sort of like anybody that walks into the shop on Pawn Stars, that they're just like, hey, I want to sell this. Oh, that's good. There's no reason why they have to buy it, but sometimes there's something. But the Rangers don't have to buy right now. All right, now it's talking about toxic poop, so we'll just pull that one. Yeah. But again, like there's the Rangers don't, like I said before with the Jack Eichel thing, they can always just Buffalo would say yes and yes and yes and the Rangers can go, that's all you're getting. So they're in a position of power. If you want it, I mean, there was you think Fox will work on his shot? Fox will work on everything, every single. Adam Fox is going to want to improve every single year. Adam Fox could win the Norris Trophy and not think he's good enough right now.
I honestly think that I would like to see him add a little more muscle. Not too much because you don't want to add on too much weight. Like Nathan McKinnon had that problem. He was put around in his rookie year, so he spent his next couple of years trying to bulk up and add offense, and he kind of lost a little bit of speed with it because he was trying to adjust to his weight. But when he found that medium in 2017, 2018, he absolutely took off, and that's when he started scoring 90 points a year. So I would say that Adam Fox really maybe some defensive improvements. There are times where he kind of gets caught. I don't know if he's like napping but there are times where you're like, wait, did he really just do that? It's very rare, but I think some attention to detail in his own zone really would be like the one thing that I could think of that he might want to improve on. But his body positioning is great. He reminds me of Nicholas Lidstrom in the way that he effectively kind of just boards off players, gains body position on them, and takes the puck and goes the other way. Because Nicholas Lidstrom was the best I've ever seen at that. There will never be a better defender at that than Lidstrom. He could take on guys that were like 6'4", 230 pounds, like an Eric Lindros, and effectively kind of just rub him out and just take the puck and go. Lidstrom was the best. Fox reminds me a little bit of him in that regard because he's very good at gaining pucks and stealing pucks and using his leverage and his positioning to steal the pucks away from bigger forwards. So I think if he bulks up a little bit, and I think maybe I would like to see him improve his skating because he may not never be like a Quinn Hughes or Kel McCarr level skater, but if he can improve his skating and get a little closer to them, I think it makes him an even better defenseman than those two.
One of my favorite quotes about Nicholas Lidstrom was before the alumni game at the Big House. One of the guys said, I was coming down one-on-one against Nick Lidstrom. The next thing I knew, I was in the corner. It's just like my playing days. Because that's what Nick Lidstrom would do. Nick Lidstrom wouldn't give you the middle. And you end up in the corner. No,
he was the best I've ever seen at body positioning. He was also the best I've ever seen at gap control.
Yeah.
Not even a question. Zdeno Chara might have had the wingspan of a 747, but Nicholas Lidstrom was absolutely better at controlling the gap. Like, that stick was so active, he literally gave you nothing. The line, I've only seen him walked one time in my life, Lidstrom, and that was Peter Forsberg in the 96 playoffs, and that was just a phenomenal move that he put on him.
Yeah.
But Lidstrom was the best I've ever seen at gap control. And I don't even have to think about it. He can close the gap on you like that. And like you said, you end up in the corner because you're not going to go into him. He's going to knock it away with the stick. And if you get too close, he'll body you off and he'll take the puck from you and he'll move it the other way.
He was incredible. And that's where there are people that you want to move certain guys like Pronger up on the list. I'm like, no, Lidstrom is the best of this century. He just is.
Yeah,
and I'll put him as second best behind Bobby Orr all time.
I have Lidstrom at 3, and
Bork at 2.
I have Bork at 2.
I have no problem with Ray Bork at 2.
The reason why is that Bork won 5 Norris trophies in what is probably the golden age of NHL defensemen.
Yeah.
I mean, think of the competition that he had to win those Norris trophies. Leach took 2 in his prime. Shelley took 3. You had Gary Suter. Al McInnes took 1.
It's a testament to the greatness of the other players.
Larry Murphy
were able to get 1
trophy.
Yeah.
Larry was more than good enough to win multiple Norris trophies and never won it, partially because of Ray Bork. He had Scott Stevens. And I'm not just talking about New Jersey Devils Scott Stevens. I'm talking like 94 and before Scott Stevens was a damn good defenseman. Damn good. I mean, Rod Langway won 2 Norris trophies while scoring 30 points in a season in the 80s while Bork was in the NHL. That's the type of competition that he had. Lidstrom didn't win one until he was 30 years old, until Brian Leach was on the downswing of his career, until Ray Bork's very last season. And in Ray Bork's very last season, he had 59 points. 59!
I think he was playing with Rob Blake, if I recall correctly.
Rob Blake was traded there at the deadline, though. So he didn't have a full season with Rob Blake that year. But, yeah, I mean, that pairing in the playoffs was just shut down. It was locked down. It was nothing. But another one, Rob Blake won a Norris Trophy in 98. I mean, look at the era. Like, by the time Lidstrom got to his run of dominance, Pronger was there, yeah. Chara was starting to develop. Niedermeyer was still good, but Niedermeyer didn't win one until 2004. I mean, the pool of competition was leveled. I mean, there's only been 2 other runs better than Lidstrom's run of 6 Norris trophies in 7 years. And that's Bobby Orr, who won, I think, 8 straight Norris trophies, or 9 straight. And then Doug Harvey, who won 7, I believe, in 8 years.
Including one with the Rangers.
Yeah. So you're talking about, and Lidstrom to me is number 3. I put him ahead of Harvey because Harvey was Orr before Orr. But I don't think he had the great defenders back then to really kind of challenge him the way that Lidstrom, kind of like how Lidstrom dominated. But to me, Lidstrom's definitely 3 for me.
All right. Well, I mean, again, I have no problem putting Ray Bourque ahead of him. It's sort of like I think we had this conversation about the goaltenders one time that I put Dryden in the top 4, and I say you can have him in any order you want. And again, I get why you're doing that, but I still think I gotta get Dryden ahead of Brodeur. I just have to.
I just had that conversation with somebody on social media, a follower of mine. He goes by the username I forget, but I believe it's like something like Steve Vickers mustache. Really, I like it, and he's an older head, good, knowledgeable guy. But he argued that Dryden would be number 2 all time for him, and he said that he would argue only Hasek and Waugh over him. Personally, Dryden's career was too short, and if you look at it, every single season of Dryden's career, those 7 full seasons, because he played 8, but the 8 was only like 5 games during the regular season. How he won the Conn Smythe before the Calder, one of those rare. He played behind 8 Hall of Famers for every single season of his career, no less than 8. And there was one season in which he had 10 in front of him. I believe that was 75. And then 2 other seasons in which he had 9. So, to me, you're playing behind that, and I get it. Ken Dryden's an important piece. They probably don't win as many cups without him. I get it. But Brodeur even played with less Hall of Famers in front of him. And Brodeur had all the records. Dryden, I mean, Hasek. Dominic fucking Hasek. 6 Vezina trophies in the modern era. And I don't know if you know this, but the Vezina trophy became a voting-based award after the 1981-82 season.
That actually, by the way, I found out recently.
Yeah. So the Vezina was previously awarded to the goaltender with the lowest GAA. So it became that in the 82-83 season, and that's when they started voting on them. But you had Jacques Plante, who won 7 Vezina trophies, and it was another one, won it under the old system of the lowest goals against. So I would put Plante over him because Plante was the golden standard for goaltending beforehand. I would put Terry Sawchuk over Ken Dryden. I would put Ed Belfour over Ken Dryden. Longevity matters to a point.
Longevity does matter, yes.
Yeah. So I mean that's part of the argument of Gretzky over Lemieux. It's longevity.
That's exactly where I go right to it. Longevity and the fact Gretzky did it. Lemieux could have. It's just he didn't have the opportunity.
Dryden only played 7 years, and they were a fantastic 7 years. But Dominic Hasek's peak was literally 8 years in which he won 6 Vezinas and 2 Hart trophies. And he had 5 seasons of a 93 or 930 save percentage or better.
He was unbelievable. He's unbelievable. And you want to talk about whenever you argue Dominic Hasek. Now, granted, we still haven't mentioned Patrick Waugh, but he's obviously on our list.
Patrick Waugh.
Yeah. And one reason why I always go back to Hasek and go, until he got to Detroit, his best defenseman, arguably, that he ever played with was Richard Smellick.
Alexis Zhitnik. Here's a staggering stat for you. In the 6 Vezina wins for Dominic Hasek, only the defenders in front of him only received a total of 4 Norris votes. 3 for Alexis Zhitnik in 1998, and 1 vote for Daryl Shannon in 1999.
Now, in fairness, we could talk about the defenseman that played in front of Hasek. He did have one of the best defensive forwards of all time playing in front of him in Michael Pekka.
I wouldn't say of all time.
All right. Well, at that time.
Sure, but Hasek, Pekka, I don't think he won a Selke in Buffalo. I don't think he won his only Selke until it was with the Islanders in 2002.
I think he did have the one in Buffalo.
Oh, because Lettinen won it in 98 and 99, I believe. Gary Lettinen... Did he? I don't think. No. Yzerman won the Selke in 2000. Won it in 98 and 99. 97. Who won it in 97? Fedorov won it in 96. That was his one. That was the second of his two. That was also the last 100-point Selke winner was Fedorov in 96. I'm forgetting who won in 97. It might be. Could it have been Pekka? No, I don't think so.
I have the answer, so it's Pekka.
Pekka did win in 97. Okay.
Pekka won in 97 and 2002. His 97. Let's get those votings. Oh no, all right. They threw me off on everything right now.
Lettinen won in 98, 99, though. I know that.
Yeah, well, that's definite. I mean, you know what? You brought up Yuri Lettinen's name, and I just went, oh yeah, I forgot.
One was on Madden that won in 2001.
2001, 2002 is Pekka, but let's just go right to the Selke. Selke settle. Jeez. Okay, trophy.
No, 2000, 2001.
Yeah, that sounds like it's a John Madden, by the way, in all honesty.
I think it was Madden that year.
I think it has to be. He was a favorite. And you're correct, John Madden.
Yeah, it was Madden in 01, Pekka in 02, 03.
How about this? 2000.
Steve Yzerman, I said that.
Steve Yzerman.
Yeah, he was a point per game Selke winner. I think he had like 79 points, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, still, that's just.
I'll tell you, Scotty Bowman changed everything about his game.
You never thought. That's what just surprised me. And by the way, when you look at those Red Wings teams, you just mentioned Fedorov won it, and Fedorov won it twice, once in '94, and then
only player to win 100 points and win it twice. He's also the only player to score 50 goals and win it twice. He's one of two players to score 120 points and win it in the same season. Doug Gilmour was the other one in 1993.
This is why I talk about our hockey knowledge is second to none. Yzerman winning it in 2000, and Chris Draper winning it in 2004.
Yep.
So your three centers on your cup teams all won Selke trophies.
Shit. 03 was.
Were you trying to figure out 03?
Yeah.
Take a wild guess in the dark. You already said his name.
It wasn't Fedorov, I know that. He only had two in 94 and 96. John Madden again?
Nope. Yuri Lettinen.
Oh, that's right. That was his. I thought Lettinen won after that. But no, he won.
And then, geez, a lot of repeat winners. Brindamore, Datsuk. Kessler.
Well, yeah, 90. I'm sorry, 08, 09, and 10. He won it.
Yeah. Ryan Kessler, Patrice Bergeron, Jonathan Toews, Patrice Bergeron, Kopitar, Bergeron, Kopitar. Then they let someone else win it, and Ryan O'Reilly and Sean Couturier finally broke through for his first.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah. That everybody's been waiting on Sean Couturier to win a Selke for a while. And then again, you know what? I actually thought Mika Zibanejad was gaining traction towards being a Selke candidate, but apparently not. He only gets like 20 votes a year.
He's just not on that level defensively. Is he above average? Yeah. Is he a very good penalty killer? Yeah, but I've said this I've said this before. I know I've probably said it offline. I don't think I've said it on here. But there's a difference between being a good penalty killer and being a good defensive player. Wayne Gretzky was a great penalty killer because Wayne Gretzky just took that ice and just went with the puck, and he could kill penalties. He could pick off passes. But Mario Lemieux was also another one. He was a very good penalty killer, but I don't think he was a great defensive player. Was he good? Yeah. But he wasn't a great defensive player. That's the way I view Mika Zibanejad.
But I just have to check one thing, because I just had it on here. Mess ever win one?
No.
No, he never did.
No, I know that for a fact.
Part of the problem is because Guy Carbonell owned this trophy for years.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time where guys like Guy Carbonell and Rick Meager were winning them. The guys that, Troy Murray won one, but he scored like 99 points that year playing with Dennis Savard and I believe Steve Larmer. You had other players that were lesser scoring forwards. I mean, Bob Gainey won the first 4 in a row. You could have called it the Bob Gainey Award after a while. But there were guys that were lesser forwards that were just specifically shut down players, and then it became more about two-way players with like Fedorov and Gilmore and guys that were really good on both sides of the puck. Now you're probably not going to see one of those checking forward types win it ever again, if you ask me.
They'd have to be off the charts great.
Yeah, because the game has really evolved away from those types, though. Wolf the Dentist Stenson, he won probably about 6 Peter Worrell awards for punching people's faces in, hacking somebody's knees out. You could just think of like the worst fighter you ever seen, like Tony Twist or someone like that. And Wolf the Dentist Stinson probably won a bunch of those trophies.
I love seeing Stu Grimson on the NHL Network, both his personality and also because it breaks the stigma of what happens to enforcers after they're done with the game. But
yeah, and Stu Grimson's a very good, very likable guy. Anybody I've ever come across that's actually met him or anything like that, and like you see a lot of interviews and stuff like that, he just seems very fun and likable, and the people he works with, they seem to love him. They're always laughing around him, always making jokes. Just seems like a quality dude.
And
yeah.
Also, because the ESPN, I didn't know about this during his playing career, by the way. But this would be a dream, by the way. If they could somehow also take Ryan Strome, that'd be even better. When ESPN, back before they destroyed their business model, they asked who's the scariest player on Halloween, and they said, "What about Stu Grimson?" And they listed all these players that were scary, and then it was they mentioned Stu Grimson writes children's books in the off season, so you're like, he's just a great guy. But I try to remember the St. Louis guy that he had, like, I want to say it was Tyson Nash, but I might be wrong. He had like that fight. They're jawing at each other in the box. They go skating up the red line. They get there. It's over 3 seconds. It's boom, 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 and Grimson's already celebrating. So, I mean,
you ever see that commercial with Grimson and it's him in the locker room?
Take care, Dean.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Dean. But it's him in the locker room, and I think the wife calls, and it's the daughter on the phone or something, like doing like fairy tales or something like that with the daughter, and the guys are like, "Oh, who's that?" And he's like, "Yeah, being a father and stuff." It's a perfect embodiment. A lot of these guys, a lot of the fighters are just good people. They just, I even heard good things about Donald Brashear. Donald Brashear, funny enough, you would never think
concert pianist, if I recall correctly.
What's up?
He's a concert pianist, if I recall correctly.
He loves Slayer. He loves heavy metal. It's funny. You would never, some of these things that you would never think about, some of these guys are just George Laraque, one of the scariest dudes in the NHL for the last, 20-something years.
Mm-hmm.
Quarter of a century. He's been one of the scariest guys, one of the nicest guys out there. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, I loved all of his comments the last couple months with the New York Rangers. Please sign me for tonight.
Yeah.
You know what? Right about this one, John Scott. John Scott was wow, we're really kind of going today. John Scott for the All-Star game is one of the greatest endings for any story like that, because I know it was done as a joke. It was done to humiliate him or such, and then the NHL tried to even keep it away. I
just think people, it just started out as a joke, and then it just gained steam, and people wanted to see it. You know what? The All-Star game's boring. That's the last one. Yes, Slayer,
red blood
from the lacerated sky, bleeding guitar. But yeah, John Scott, that's the last time that I felt invested in an All-Star game.
And you know what? And we were invested for the right reason, and we got what we wanted. John Scott, who has been doing yeoman work for so many years, getting moved because he's a tough guy that can fight, and then just beating the crap out of everybody that he could think of. Then he gets to show off, this guy's got some skills. You always heard those stories about tough guys that you're like, oh, do they have the skills? Yeah, they do. And I think he did the Patrick Kane.
Oh, yeah.
For scoring.
Tried to rough up Patrick Kane, and they were fucking with each other. Yeah. Great, man. It was fun. It was good. It was entertainment. Like, the NHL's so boring. They don't want to market their players. They're just bland about it. And then you have someone like that comes along that actually wants to be a personality in the game. You know what? Take those two clowns off of the podcast that I will not name because I can't stand them, and put John Scott and George Larac there. You want two good guys? Give me those two guys. Yes, that is correct. Yes, it was against Chicago.
And you know what? Yeah, because even though I don't have the same searing hatred on those guys, but I don't listen to them as much as possible. I do like the New Amsterdam commercial that they have. But
I just give me Scott and Scott's views on this with the Tom Wilson incident. You couldn't said it any better. It's not what you do. You're a coward for doing that, man.
Yeah. And by the way, I gotta agree with this too. Hoping that ESPN and TNT take away the boring part of. I mean, the NBC had that going for them. They had Brett Hull and Jeremy Roenick, and they turned away from it. They caved to the crowd. Jeremy Roenick got fired for saying in an interview, it was like a question he was just asked, and he was just kind of repeating about having a 3-way with Catherine Tappan, but people got offended by it. So, again, but I talk about this. This is also cross sports promotion. Get Charles Barkley, get Shaq in there. They would inject some energy, because there's no way Shaquille O'Neal doesn't inject energy into anything. And scroll to real fluky goal. All right, I gotta check that out. And but going back to the boring part on the NHL, show that it's a lot more fun. Let guys let loose. If not ESPN, if ESPN wants to be the serious one, TNT should go over the top, because that's what I thought Fox was going to be when they were doing it when it was younger. And Dave Maloney was fantastic on Fox, but obviously not now. Different Dave Maloney. He's not as animated as he was. So
yeah, TNT now has Wayne Gretzky, so that should be interesting.
Funny you say that, because Sean just mentioned that.
Yeah. It's. I hope so. I hope that Gretzky really kind of he's kind of a dry personality.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even going to get into that, because that comment was just it. Anyone would say that, and I know women who would say the same thing about Jason Momoa or Ryan Reynolds, and I don't want to. Yeah,
exactly.
It's just it's BS. Roenick got canned for other reasons, and I'm not going into them.
Oh, okay. So I thought that was only it. That's
No,
right.
definitely got canned for other reasons.
We don't need to go into that.
That's one of them. That was the breaking point, but he definitely had other things going against him, and I'm not getting into them.
Okay, but again, I mean, but what I was trying to say is they had plenty of guys to inject personality.
Well, yeah,
and like even Milbury injected personality, but then they got rid of Milbury too.
Oh, he was an idiot.
Oh yeah, but still personality to have an idiot.
Couldn't stand it. But yeah, I just really hope, because Gretzky's got a dry personality. I really hope that they Wayne opens up a little bit. And anybody who knows me well enough knows that Wayne is absolutely my idol. I adore Wayne. Yes, I love Valakut. I absolutely love Valakut. He actually just followed me on Twitter the other day, and I wanted to go do cartwheels. So yeah, Valakut's great. He would absolutely be a steal for someone like ESPN. He'd be a catch. He'd be an absolute catch for them. He's a guy that balances an old school approach with the new school analytics and everything like that. He's awesome. He's a good dude. Valley is absolutely the man. He is the man. MSG Network, pony up, because if you don't, that guy will go elsewhere and he'll be a star.
I think he'll be a star. He could still do the name, because I started thinking about it like Kevin Burkhardt, who I used to love on SNY, and now he's with Fox. And I'm just like, I don't want Valakut to go. I kind of even grimaced myself just now. I bit my lip on.
I don't know, but I would. I you know what? If he was part-timing with them, like yeah, MSG is hella lucky, because not only that, you got Anson Carter too. Anson Carter still with the Rangers. Oh, I would love to see Sean Avery. That's personality right there.
And that is a lot of fire. That is a lot of fire. So that would be interesting. And yeah, you know what? And again, Anson Carter just got that. Everything about Anson Carter, I just love.
Carter. I like Kevin Weeks a lot too. Kevin Weeks was a big fish for MSG to catch. ESPN, sorry, to catch. He's really good at what he does. He's fresh. I love how he used to call Corey Perry Scory Perry, and the other nicknames that he used to give out on NHL Network and stuff like that. He's fun. He keeps it fresh. He's got a new approach to it, but he's been around long enough to understand an old school approach, so he can get through to those boomers and people who are older heads that still watch the so I don't want to use boomer because it sounds like a derogatory term, but I'll use the term old heads.
Yeah, like if you're 40 or something. So you're 43.
I don't know if you just got the text, Mark, but the Maple Leafs re-signed Jason Spezza for 1-year deal for $750K.
Why? All right.
Well, like the veteran depth. He played well for them, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, they got.
Yeah.
The Leafs got other issues they got to figure out.
I know, but he does help, and listen, if he's going to keep playing for $750K and he's going to give you what he gave them this year, why the hell not?
Yeah. You know what? I got to agree with that, especially for depth and for just that amount. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'd take him.
Second power play unit, passable defensively. Actually, I would say a little better than average defensively. Scoring, your bottom six. Leadership, I $750K. Yep.
Avery the last 2 weeks before there'd be talks of canceling him.
It's so true. It's so true.
Oh, but you know what? It's you know what? Here's another one for you.
Oh, Renee Young. Yeah. Oh man. She's she is. She's very good at what she does. I didn't like her as a color commentator on WWE. I'm a huge WWE fan. If you saw me a couple of weeks ago, I was wearing a Bullet Club shirt, so I'm a huge wrestling fan. But I like Renee a lot. I think that her or Charlie Caruso could bring a lot to offer. And I know Charlie's with ESPN right now, but I'd like to see her in some coverage with with hockey. It would be cool. And yes, $750K is nothing for Spezza. That's awesome. You got a good player for league minimum.
Yeah. And I mean, just to make the comment, my latest NHL anchor crush is Lauren Gardner. Yeah, just
right.
Oh my goodness.
And
she's great. And she's great on the air.
I was a huge Jackie Redmond and Kelly Nash guy, and then LG Red just came along, and I just melt.
Yeah, they actually got all good anchors over there.
Yeah,
they're all fantastic.
They do. Kelly Nash is great on MLB Network too. She's Kelly, if you're listening, single.
LG. All right. Yeah, we went for 4 hours today. I got a lot of editing I gotta do still. Thank God I didn't have anything scheduled for tonight. All right. Yeah, guys, we're gonna sign it off right here. Yeah, good. John's back. We're gonna sign it off right here because we could go on and do this for a while. I do want to do like an afternoon show, like daily and stuff like that. But I also have to find time to go work out and not gain so much weight. But yes, thank you, Sean, because you guys are the reason why we stuck around for the last at least hour and a half, maybe hour 50 minutes.
I've had for so long that I can't even tell you how long I've had to, but I've had so much fun doing it that holding it in hasn't even been a big problem for me. Thank you guys.
Yeah. So you take 100%. Oh, I thought Michael Scott said that. So you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Guy shooting the ball and the ball says "Hey" on it. That'd be me for Lauren Gardner.
Yeah. And yes, Dino, nice talking with you. Again, you guys were phenomenal today. Yeah. Tune in next week. We are definitely doing one on the off day again. That'll be Tuesday. I'll be half asleep for the first part because I'll be working till 4 a.m. and sleeping somewhere around 5:30.
Free advertising. One of these, buddy. Red Ball.
As I'm going to have on our outtake reel at the end of the year, we got John and I totally for sale. Anthony, I don't know, he might have some integrity, but I'm the boss, so I can go with that. You're for sale.
So, you're listening.
All right.
I'll cook for you, clean everything.
I'll go with the heartbreak angle, and I'm always camera ready. So, all right. Again, guys, thank you very much. We'll talk to you all soon.
Take care, everybody.